January 24th meeting of the Northfield Selectboard. It's 6:02. I'm calling this meeting to order. And we're starting right off with scheduled appointments. And we have a request for temporary liquor licenses from Cameron's Winery and the Backroom Brewery. Hello and welcome. You want to state your names for the record and the camera? And the request.
Leslie Cameron, Cameron's Winery.
Paul Cameron, Backroom Brewing Company.
Excellent.
We would like to do a one-day liquor license over at the Trinitarian Church for February 10th for a really fun event.
Murder Mystery Dinner.
Oh, that's where you're doing it, at the church. Wow. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Can I go?
Yes, you may. Thank you for asking.
I have no questions.
Oh, good.
I'll see you there. Right.
Okay. Alex, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
know we need to
I've
work
asked
on drawing you out,
I've asked
so-
them plenty of questions before in the past in regards to one-day liquor licenses. Every time that they come forward, they always are prepared and present themselves professionally for any site that they wish to request a temporary license for. So I'm all set.
Okay, good. Bernie, do you have any questions, Steve?
No, this is pretty straightforward. I
That's what I thought.
don't want to
Okay.
waste your time.
Well, you're important to the town, and it's nice to see you branching out into doing other events in the town too. So it's great. I'll entertain a motion to approve the temporary liquor licenses for the Cameron's Winery. And, do we need to do them separately?
I would do them separately.
Okay. I'll entertain a request for a temporary liquor license for Cameron's Winery.
So moved. Second.
Second from Bernie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. And I'll also entertain a request for a temporary liquor license for the Backroom Brewery.
So moved. Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the love you have for the town.
It's always nice to see you too, and thank you.
It's the only time I get to see you.
We have to work on that.
I know. I got to work on it. It's my bad.
Next time they'll bring some beverages and some snacks.
We'll do a tasting. We'll do a temporary.
Perhaps.
Yeah, okay.
We should.
That sounds good.
Thank
Love you guys. Thanks for
Thank
doing
you.
everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Have fun with
Nice to
it.
see you too, Les.
Bye, guys.
Fun.
See you. Thanks. Okay, let's, so you're at 6:15, so we're just gonna go ahead on a few other things, just to keep it at that time. I'll entertain a motion to approve the January 25th, 2023 payroll warrant of $76,000, $661.45.
So moved.
Second.
Ooh, he's got you on that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'll,
Mind
Alex?
if I do it?
Yeah, no,
Sure.
not at all. Go ahead. Thank you.
I move to approve the January 25th, 2023 vendor warrant of $186,332.82. This is for snow removal, town health insurance, and the Mass Department of Transportation Shared Streets project.
Excellent. Motion and a
Second.
excellent. Thanks.
Um,
Any discussion on
yeah, a
the
little
motion?
discussion on that. How are
Me
those?
too.
How is that going, Andrea? Just
The shared
really briefly. If we
What, the
could.
shared streets, that was the purchase of the snow equipment,
Snow
so
equipment.
it's purchased and you can see the results.
Indeed.
Excellent.
So-
The
Good question
sidewalks have
on
been
that.
cleared,
Yeah.
so.
Successful project and policy. I'm glad
Yeah.
to see it
And
being
then
used.
They cleared it up today. I came in this morning and there was snow on the ground and I looked out just a little while ago and it's
Oh, they were able to get to the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So.
They did a good job.
Mary, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. So, now when we have any snowfalls at all, the town is gonna plow all the
sidewalks.
sidewalks on Main Street
Oh, and more.
and more. I remember that. I'm asking actually in a kind of selfish manner, particularly in front of the Creamy, because I had hired somebody to shovel and sand in front of the Creamy on the sidewalk so nobody would slip and fall, right?
Yeah, they're plowing it. They're not sanding or salting it this time. So
Okay,
they will- the
but there
tractor will
is,
go
the
through.
town is plowing it.
Yes.
'Cause I'm paying.
I would say, from a policy perspective, residents are still responsible for clearing it, technically, but we're just having the town do it. Am I making sense when I say that? Because we still have it. We still have a notice out there that,
But legally, if somebody slipped and fell, it would be my.
like, I don't think we should hold the town liable for not doing it, because staffing, storms, events, and things like that, I don't think that's fair to the town of Northfield to put that burden on them. And I think I'm hoping the residents will be understanding that if they can't get to every single storm, it's still going to ultimately be their responsibility.
And I would encourage residents to sand or salt in the front if they get the chance, because we're not doing that. So,
Right.
even if they clear it, and they did a good job, I mean, it was
It's
cleared
beautiful. I
today,
went
it was
actually
cleared.
around to look
But
at it.
sometimes when things melt and freeze, I would still
Yeah.
encourage residents to keep an eye on the sidewalk in front of their house.
Okay. thank
Okay,
you.
and we're gonna be doing an update on the storm later. Andrea, we're gonna be doing an update on the storm?
Sure, yes.
Okay. So we're still on the vendor warrant. Any other discussion or questions on the actual warrant? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Okay, and then we need to approve the minutes, executive session minutes from December 20th of 2022.
They looked fine.
A motion and a,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and how about the minutes from January 10th? I looked at those on Thursday and I didn't see anything.
I tried to find something that was misspelt so I could let Sandra know.
I know, she's in the other room.
She's not feeling so well, she doesn't want to spread it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a mask on and she's isolated.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to?
Yeah, I make a
Great.
motion that we approve the minutes from January 10th, 2023.
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, we still have some time. Interim select board meeting, we didn't have one. Meetings and events attended by select board members. Bernie?
No,
Nope.
got canceled.
Oh, that's right, all the snow. Mary, what about you, the last 2 weeks?
Nope, the one I was gonna go to, I was looking forward to, it got canceled as well. But it's rescheduled already, so.
Okay, Heath?
I had the emergency services building committee last week on the 19th.
Oh, right.
Discussing some timeframes on a potential meeting with the public in advance of the town meeting, probably about a month in advance or more. People brought up the concern of not having it too close to the town meeting, but I think they maybe missed the point that we were talking about having it a month in advance. So, but it will be somewhere in the ballpark of a month in advance before the town meeting. So there will be time for people to weigh in on it. And there's other things like signs going up on the site and other talk of other things to kind of move it forward. So
Exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I was still not feeling well during that whole week. I was literally out of work the whole week, but since I didn't have I could do that one remote, I did. But from what I can remember, I think that the preliminary dollar amounts were coming in lower than what we had originally anticipated a few months ago when they were doing their pre-planning. They don't have anything concrete, but it looks like the projections are actually coming in a bit lower than what they were expecting. So that's
gotta
good.
love
But,
that.
yeah. More news to share on that one as it goes forward. You guys start
Great.
regular meetings.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about scheduling and maybe using the select board meetings to do an update with emergency services
Yeah.
facility, particularly on the look of the building. Okay, I sat in on a budget subcommittee meeting for the PVRS, and Bernie Parada is attending from the finance committee, so both of us sat in on that one. Oops, little accident. ARPA committee, and I also sat in on the emergency services building committee. And no FinCom meeting last night because of the snow. Alex, did you have any meetings?
I did not have anything.
Okay. 6:12. Andrea, how long of an update do you have?
4 or 5 little things.
Okay,
Not necessarily
let's
lengthy.
do those, and then we'll have David come up for Sun Run.
Sure.
Oh, yes,
How long's the update for the, on the storm conditions and that? Do we want to slide that in early in the meeting for the people, or?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can tell you what we know. We don't know a lot. We did check in with them this afternoon. Communication is kind of spotty. I mean, they're up on the mountain, so, you know, it's a call, text kind of thing. But the roads were still closed at the time. We are updating the website, so we're asking people to watch the website so that when we get updated communication about a road, we are putting it on. But we did check like 1 o'clock this afternoon, and everything was still being worked on. So we're really asking people to be careful. We know there's power out in some areas. We've had, you know, people looking for help to get gasoline for generators. So the police have been involved. So, you know, we are speaking to residents. We have had some phone calls, so we're trying our best. We've also gotten some roads, other people calling from other roads because they said they needed sanding or salt. We pass those on to Tom as best we can. But we're hoping people will be patient because we have a couple roads that are, people were still cut off. You know, we understand we want it to be safe for everyone, but they're scrambling to get residents unstuck, so to speak, in a much more serious way. So we will continue. We are under a state of emergency that was declared last night, me and the emergency management director, and that allows us some flexibility. And also we're hoping that if a storm is declared or FEMA declares the funding for the storm, that having declared a state of emergency, that we will be in good position for that. I don't have my mic on either.
I just really, yeah, sorry.
So,
Sorry, Tyler.
so we don't know a lot more right now, but like I said, we keep updating the website every time we get a chance. So
So
if we
the-
hear anything, we'll let people know.
I think the last update was around 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know South Mountain is open, but they are still working on some of the trees.
So we're asking people to just not use roads if they can help. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get my microphone. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I've seen up there is residents, other than during a storm, there was a tractor trailer that came up Mountain Road from Irving and tried to go up over the mountain.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, that's silly. But we are hoping that, you know, residents who are not living on that road can avoid it. That would be really useful for now. Obviously, residents who are on the road have to use the road. But we're trying to keep traffic as light as possible.
And just for the record, so Warwick Road is still closed?
As far as we know, yes.
Especially on the Warwick side, because they have a lot of down trees and down
Yes.
wires. Okay,
Communication on the reverse 911, was that done?
yes.
Yes.
So
Code Red went out.
can we, because there's some people who didn't get it, including me.
Then you should go on the website, click Code Red, go in, and make sure you're in.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get
Well, I've gotten it before, so I don't know why I would have been booted out.
I don't know, but I would check your status. You can also ask to be done on a cell phone, a landline, and or email.
Yeah.
So you can get all
I think
three
we
of
had all
those.
the above, and all of a sudden I
Yeah.
didn't get anything yesterday.
Did you get the town alert
I
too?
get nothing.
I
Okay.
didn't get anything.
I found out on Facebook that we were in a state of emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, I found
So-
out that way too.
So I posted on Nextdoor last night the links to the subscribe page that you can get to right off of the home page.
And if you check
That
your
we'll
sta-
get alerts from?
Yes, if you sign up via email on the subscription page, you'll get emails, and it'll be whatever gets posted as a town alert, you'll get an email on, and then Code
Yes.
Red, you have to click through on Code Red
To get a text?
to
No,
get the,
she's
to
talking
get the
two
call.
separate things.
Yeah, 2 separate alerts.
Because what if my computer's down, I have no electricity, I can't get my
you
email.
can choose Code Red cell phone.
Yeah.
It calls
That's
my
where
cell
I was
phone.
going.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do it.
because I got that last night, and you can
You
set.
did?
Yep,
Yeah,
if you
I got it too.
click on Code Red, it'll take you can actually set up an account, or you can
Okay.
just
Yeah,
log in
check.
as a
If
guest.
you're still on there and you're not getting it, then let me know and we'll have to have Skip go in and check it.
Okay.
But just make sure
And
that
this
something
is,
hasn't.
this is through the town website, even if I don't go to the link on Nextdoor, it's on the town
Yeah.
website.
Yes.
The-
Code Red sign up is on the town.
Code
website.
Red sign up on
Yeah,
the
just
website.
FYI, Nextdoor is, the post just contains links to the town website,
Okay.
like I normally do, so,
Right, yeah.
yeah.
I
Bernie.
tried to sign up for that and it wouldn't take in my email address, so it said I needed, it kept saying I needed a valid email.
I don't know, it didn't like something about your email, but we can check after the storm with
Yeah.
Skip and see
Yeah,
what's going on.
I even tried putting in my email here and it
Huh.
wouldn't take it.
That's odd.
Yeah, that was just, I found that funny.
On the subscription page or on Code Red?
He's on Code Red.
Did you check the I'm not a robot box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
because a lot of
For the
people,
subscription page, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then if that's happening, we'll talk to Sandra because we can talk to our vendor.
Okay.
Find out why you're getting,
Yeah, 'cause I tried my regular Comcast email and it wouldn't do it, so I tried the Northfield.gov one and it wouldn't do it that either, so I was
Oh.
like, oh. It's all right, I just checked the website and they usually have
yeah, but
emergency
just check with
alerts.
Sandra because we need to know if people can't
Yeah.
get it in, that's
Well, that's
important.
why I thought I'd bring it up, because if somebody else is having a problem,
We'll see if we can get it
unless you're
set up.
targeting me there under.
That's right, we don't want to send you emails. No, we'll,
Okay,
we'll check that
yeah.
on our.
Well, thank you.
okay, and then this is a good reminder. This is I was telling Andrea and Skip last night, this is my first state of emergency, so the chair, Heath and Alex are used to it, but,
Sorry.
so I had
On
Skip
fire.
show up on my doorstep with a piece of paper, and we talked to Andrea. So it's a good reminder to talk about communication procedures, because then what we should do is then turn around and notify the select board as a whole, which I texted with Heath,
Yeah.
but I didn't do it via email because of the concerns about open meeting law. But at some point, we should go over with.
And I didn't get your text again until like 7
Yeah,
o'clock this morning.
right. So at some point, we should go over procedures again
Okay.
with Skip and make sure that the select board is totally up to date on whatever's going on for the town, because you're likely to get questions as well.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, so that's a reminder to take a closer look at that. Okay, why don't we pause right here, and David, why don't you come up for your appointment? You're here for a temporary vendor hawker peddler license. Do you want to introduce yourself and just give us an introduction, so for the record?
Sure.
What
Good
you're-
evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. I'm David Myler with Sunrun. We do residential solar. You might have seen us at like Home Depot. We're in there sometimes. We're the largest residential installer in America. And I'm just asking for a week-long pass to go door to door in the town. And I'll probably do that again and again because it's a big area. I can't get it all done in 1 week. And basically what I do is I introduce myself, I say who I am, what company I work for, and go into the problem we have in Massachusetts, which is we have the 4th highest rates of electricity in the country. We don't make enough here anymore, so we have to get it from out of state, hence the delivery charges on our electric bill. So we do sell the systems, but not everybody is interested in investing in the system. So we have other options too. What a lot of people refer to as a lease. It's not like leasing a car, so it's not called that in our business. It's called a purchase power agreement.
Oh.
For those who qualify, we buy the equipment, we maintain the equipment, and sell the homeowner cheaper power at a guaranteed rate. If we can't save you money day one, we don't do it. So that's exactly what I would say when I come up to the door. And then if the homeowner is ready at that time, we just need an electric bill. I build the design in real time and show them apples to apples. You know, if they get enough sun and it looks like we could investigate further, we'd send a technician out at a time of their choosing. But we give them a rough idea of what their new electric could be, or if they wanted to buy the system, how much it would cost. And basically just give them more information than they had before, because a lot of people have been told they can't go solar, or they don't think they can afford it because they think they have to buy it. So that's why we go door to door, is just to kind of let you know that, you know, we've been in business for over 16 years. A lot of things have changed.
And where are you based out of?
I live in Whately, and my office is in Chicopee.
Okay. Does the board have anyone? Alex?
Yes, maybe you answered this already and I wasn't paying attention. What's your stakeholding with the company?
I'm a sales rep. That's
Sales
true.
rep.
Yes.
Do you have any ownership or anything like that involved with
Stock, yes.
Stock.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can actually buy stock at certain allowed times, and then based off of how many customers we help per year, they will also award stock.
Have you been in front of elected officials before seeking permits for peddling?
Yes. Greenfield.
Greenfield.
Yep.
And how was that experience?
It's good. They were like, oh, another solar guy. But I told them everything I told you. You know, there's a lot of solar companies out there. In our time, half of the companies that have popped up have gone under, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's where you hear a lot of bad experiences. So we just like to let you know who we are and why we're here to stay. We're publicly traded and everything, so we're not going anywhere.
Okay.
Great.
So you've done this before. You seem like you're pretty experienced in the solar
Yes.
industry.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Good
I've been doing it
grassroots
for a
approach.
while, and it's nice sitting down like this because some towns don't require anything, and other towns do, and it's a nice way to meet some more folks.
That's great. And then you're on camera too, so people will have a heads up that you're coming.
Oh, cool. Nice.
A little advanced publicity. Any other questions?
I'm all set.
Okay. Do you want to do a motion, Alex?
Sure.
Great.
Just want to get the dates squared away here. This is going to be for a week, is it? Or for an indefinite amount of time? Do you know what
It's a week.
it is? A week.
I think that's the way your bylaws written, that you grant them that way.
Yeah, a week at a time.
So the application date is for the 18th, and today's the 23rd. That would only give them a few days less. So should I do it as of effective for tomorrow? Would that matter?
You can do a week from tomorrow, yeah. You don't
Yeah.
have to do, what does it say on the license?
Well, it said, the
Just
date of
about-
application says it's
Right,
the
that's the
18th.
date of application, but you can do, I don't know if she's put in anything.
Would I be able
Yeah,
to
so you
request the dates just because I'm going to be out of town? I'm going to Buffalo, New York. That's where I'm from.
Oh,
So
wow.
I understand the weather
So,
situation.
yeah. But
But-
just grant it for a week and then he
What
can-
dates?
I'll be back in action Wednesday of this
Wednesday.
coming week,
So you want.
So what day is Wednesday, the 25th?
25th.
Tomorrow?
All right,
Tomorrow.
Or you mean next week?
the week after. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 25th through the 31st.
Tomorrow's
So
the
You're gonna do
25th.
tomorrow's
that.
the
I thought you were going to.
Or I'm
Buffalo.
sorry, the
First.
1st through the
The 8th.
8th. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. And what's your name again?
David Myler.
David Myler. I'll make a motion to grant David Myler, in association with Sunrun, a temporary vendors / hawker and peddler license from the dates of February 1st, 2023 to February 8th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thanks. Do you guys need anything else from me?
no, I look forward to hearing my
Where the-
doorbell ring.
Okay. Yeah.
He'll have to find you first.
I know.
My
that's the big
information's
thing.
there. I don't know if you guys want to post it or anything like that, but anything I can do to be helpful, or just let me know.
Solar is the future.
It is. Hey, do you guys have solar for the town buildings?
Hey, you see this right
Well,
here?
actually, in all fairness, we only do residential, but PV Squared, for example, is out of Greenfield. They do commercial, and
That's something we'll have to put on our list.
I would love to see solar panels
We
on the town
have a
hall
to-do
roof.
list.
Can't, you've got a slate roof.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, just one question. This says authorized hours of, so we have the dates. Do we have the hours of operation when he's able to?
Well, like not at 6 a.m. and not at 12 midnight.
You can establish those.
Probably
That's your
gonna need
motion.
some evening hours for
What are your
people
normal
working.
business hours
So-
that you like to go
9 to
about?
5?
so I like to go out, as early as 10 a.m. And unfortunately, most people, are home after dark in these months. So I try not to knock too much after dark unless there's like a lot of light.
Mhm.
If it's a dark house, I don't. It's a little spooky going there anyway.
So like 10 to 6 is a reasonable?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
All right. We'll put that on the permit.
Okay,
All right. I made a note.
great, David.
All right, David.
Good luck to you.
All
Thank
right,
you so
thank you very
much.
much,
Have fun
everybody.
in Buffalo.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
will.
you coming forward. Yeah. Safe,
Yeah, and thank you for
safe
coming.
travels to Buffalo.
All right, thank
Great.
you.
Okay, are you driving?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually the fastest
It
way.
is, really.
I was going to Buffalo with it all the time.
Yeah, I'm
6
proud.
hours.
My sister was born in
6
Buffalo.
hours, not that.
Yeah, I think so.
8 hours to TM.
Hydrate.
Um,
Drink some water.
If Sandra, does he need the?
Does he need the little certificate thing? The ID?
That was just a printout of the hawkers and
Oh.
peddlers license I had at the time. I can print out another one, and I have my own identification from Sunrun as well.
Oh, so this was from you already?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
That's
good.
the application.
Oh,
I can
good.
blow it up if that's too small.
No.
No, we didn't know if that was going to you from us.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, great. Okay,
Okay.
thank you for
Okay,
the,
thanks.
Yeah.
everybody.
all the detail in the application, that was good.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, do you want to continue your
Sure.
administrator update?
He's all set, I just need to process the rest of that paperwork and I need that little license.
With it, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Just wanted to double check.
I was, last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I attended the Massachusetts Municipal Annual Meeting and Trade Show, finally in person again after multiple years. It's an annual meeting, there's workshops, there's a big, huge trade show. This is all at the Heinz Convention Center.
Where was it?
Boston.
Heinz Convention Center
Where's
in
that?
Boston.
Right in
Oh,
downtown
Boston,
Boston.
okay.
So I went to various workshops on various topics. I went to a budget one because I wanted to hear the new, some new information. That the person who kicked off the meeting, I should start in the beginning, was the governor spoke, the new governor.
Oh.
So she started the meeting at the opening session, and she spoke. And then the next day at the MMA, the actual meeting where they conduct business and do the vote on the resolution, was Senator Markey and Lieutenant Governor spoke. So we get to hear from them, we get to hear about all their priorities. And so I went to the budget session to hear some of the, you get to meet some of the new players, although they've only been in office about 15 days. There are some new directors of departments that have been appointed.
Mhm.
So the seeing as it's the first year of an incoming administration, they get until March to release their budget instead of January. So we wanted to get some heads up on what their priorities are, because we won't actually see their budget until March, which is fairly late in our process because we're doing budgets now for a May meeting. So so listening to, they released the Chapter 90 early, and but they have refunded the one-stop program, including all the Mass Works grants, which is great.
Oh, good.
Because they don't technically have to, but they've already put in a bill for that, and we all apply for those grants, so that's really, really important. So we'll see a lot more coming our way out of that. And they reported, then the financial one I went to reported on the economic state of the state, revenues for last year and tax collections. And they talk about, they've committed to funding the education reform bill 100% under the law for this year. They're committed to the unrestricted general government aid formula that we've been getting year after year. So, it's good to hear those things. We have some sense. I also went to the workshop on pressing legal issues. In other words, cases that have been decided in the last year since the last meeting, where they talk about everything from workers' comp cases to personnel cases, all these kinds of things that are good to know, because you learn all sorts of new things so that you don't make any missteps. So you also learn things that the court may have done differently than the law, or when they change a law that we're operating under because the court has ruled it. So those are just two of the big ones I went to, as well as the trade show, where I met with a few interesting people, one of which was to talk about street signs, radar street signs. Well, the interesting thing on this, and I'm going to follow up, is these guys not only make those signs that say, slow down, traffic, but I mentioned to him, they do the typical signs. I mentioned to him that we were interested in something possibly a little larger than this, but programmable for just such an occasion when you want to say road closed. In other words, the discussion you had last time, talking about how would we alert people if you decided, for example, today that the road was closed to anybody but local traffic, how would you alert them on the ground? So I'm going to explore with them what this means, and if it is in fact that you can make a sign that can be speed limit when you want it to be, no trucks when you want it to be, or road closed when you want it to be. What would that look like, and who could program it, and how big would we need, and get some possible,
How much?
well, I don't know, that's what we have to talk about. So anyway, he was just one vendor, so I would look into others, but the fact that that even existed, I found very interesting, because sure, because when you want to close those roads, you don't want to put a barricade in a snowstorm, people can drive right into it. How could we make something that would be visible, that you could not have the same all the time, because you aren't going to want to say road closed all the time? Could that sign also then be useful for traffic information? So it's just something to look into. So that was one of the vendors who I picked up. I have other things, but I thought that one was interesting because you guys have just been going through that.
Timely. Can you also, I had mentioned this to you, can you also talk with the town administrator in Irving to see if they could do something on their end as well? So then we're mirrored on both sides of the mountain, especially during dangerous conditions.
So that's just one sample brochure he had. That isn't to say that's all the products, and that's why I said to him, because he talked about programmable, and I said, well, if that's programmable, can we put words on it? Can we make a sign big enough? And so I'm going to get in contact with him and some other vendors and see if that's the case. It's more useful if we have something that can be modified. Now, again, most of these are solar, which wouldn't help in certain times of the year, but if we put it near a pole, is there a way to electrify? All these things are just, new and haven't explored yet, but something to look into.
Help us move forward.
Last year, the DLTA was to have the FERCog look at potential reuse of the fire station in preparation for the building, for the new emergency services building, and the one-stop grant program is in May. So they do have a presentation of a lot of work that they did from last year's DLTA. So I'm going to ask B to schedule them to come to a select board meeting to make that first pass at presentation, to talk a little bit about information that they have gleaned and maybe our next steps, all in preparation for putting in a one-stop grant to go maybe the next step further, which is getting some consulting on the ground and some schematic or concept ideas on what that would be. But they did a lot of the preliminary work. So they have a PowerPoint, and I'm going to invite them to come. So we'll work on scheduling that for one of the upcoming meetings. So that's coming up. I emailed the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District to check on where things are, because the last letter we had from them said last year they were a bit overwhelmed and they were looking to do 2023 summer as a potential for new applicants to be admitted. And I emailed them to check on where that's at, because if there's a budget issue, and I think there is an annual contribution, it's something we need to know now when we're going through budget season. So hopefully we'll have an update on that when I hear back from them about the mosquito control district. The community classification, compact classification study had its orientating webinar on the 18th. So now I'm sending them job descriptions for their first review on that, and then they will start working with individual departments. First thing to do is review and make sure all our job descriptions are tight and up to date and where we want them to be. And then we go into the classification process from that. So we're starting that process right now. Also, we are talking about a couple of job descriptions being revamped and or created. So if someone from this committee would like to participate in that, my standing committee is usually the department head, myself, someone from the finance committee, and a select board member. So if you want to work on that, we're looking at possibly creating, it doesn't mean we'll fill these, but there's some talk. I'd like to do an assistant treasurer collector. We're talking about that person being funded through the wastewater and water treatment, the new district, that funding paying for an assistant for the treasurer collector so that they could take those payments from the two districts. So, but we still have to create the job description because it would still be town employee, even if it ends up being funded from the districts.
From enterprise, yeah.
Right, so I need to create that job description, which I'm working on. And
so you'll do the job descriptions then?
I'd love to.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
and then we're also looking at a rec job
I've done
description.
it a few times before.
I know, I like it too.
And we're looking at a rec job description. She has a weight room attendant that she'd like to expand because they're doing some other programming in the gym.
Oh, pickleball.
And they need to have somebody from rec present, and the weight room attendant job description doesn't include that provision, so that job description just needs to be updated. So that's our classification process. So I will put down that you're going to be part of that. We do that generally remotely, so we can work with you.
And the classification process, because this ties in with our priorities, this leads to wages
yes,
at a later point.
Right.
Because that was
once we create the
something
job
that
description,
was
we classify it based
we had
on
all
the
felt
scale.
was important. Okay,
Right.
good.
So that we're moving on with that. And this is interesting. So that's what I have for right now.
Great. Thank you. Okay, business. So we're going to go over the direct local technical assistance, otherwise known as DLTA, prioritization and request.
This
So
is a yearly thing that we do.
Yep.
Right, and I have two that are in. Two groups responded to me, the planning board and the energy committee, so I got their comments
Oh, okay.
as well. Which
I think they have it on, the planning board has it on their agenda for Thursday.
Right, we're going to discuss it again. This all has to be in technically by the 27th, so the end of this week. So I I don't know what all your prayers, I can give you just the two that I spotted and you can do with them what you will.
Yep.
Technical assistance to create a new or expand a planned industrial park. That's one of the ones that's actually on there, which we could consider. We've talked about that multiple times. And then the other one that was new to me, but if people recall, we mentioned that last year, Massachusetts became an OSHA state. So we're now OSHA.
Oh, right.
And there is a risk management OSHA compliance and safety manager, potential municipal shared technical assistance sharing feasibility. We don't really have an OSHA compliance officer. We kind of have done it through highway, but I just don't think they have time. Now there's reporting annually that's due, and you have to, there's certain forms. So participating regionally with an
Oh, here it
OSHA
is.
compliance and safety manager might be of interest.
This is under municipal,
Sharing of services.
okay. Does that mean it could be something that's shared among towns, certain
Correct.
towns?
I
Okay.
think I think that would be, that way they would explore. So those are the two that jumped out at me
Prudent and proactive.
but
Okay.
as possibilities.
And the other one is listed under community economic development.
Yes, on the second page.
And which one is it again? The,
Provide technical assistance to create new or expand planned industrial park.
okay.
And then you had the Energy Committee talked about their most valuable service is the compilation of energy data and reports they get from the FERCog, but that's actually not DLTA funded, and I'll get back to her on that. That's
Yep.
actually a separate grant they go after
Yep.
to assist with those reports, so we really don't need that with DLTA.
I think that's the confusing part of this, is we do get support from FERCog on other things.
Other
It's
things.
not, doesn't necessarily have to be part of this process.
Right, and then she
Okay.
talked about, the other thing that was of interest to her was some economic development, but she thought about it particularly through maybe recreation or open space. That was in the email I got.
Okay, what's the preference of the board? Do you want to go around the room and list out what the priorities are and see where we're?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Planning board, the other one was they want help with large-scale solar rewrite on the bylaws.
Oh, yeah.
And they mentioned the pollinator habitat corridor.
Oh, good. That's one of my,
So those are the two. I'm sorry.
okay.
I should give you both of those.
Where's the other one for the planning board?
On
Oh,
the
I see
very
it.
back,
It's the
there's
last one.
Bylaws,
Okay.
and he wrote in large-scale solar. Yeah. Under zoning policies.
So is our goal tonight to get down to 3 or 4 total for the
Yeah.
town? Okay.
You
So
guys
we're,
get to prioritize what you'd like to see and send it in.
okay. All right. Bernie, do you want to kick off what you had noticed on this?
Okay, I had kind of going in order.
Yep.
Business and industrial sector assistance, I just wanted to provide and support access to small business assistance resources. That was my second priority when I looked at these earlier. The other one was the one right below the one.
Which
update.
one is that? Say that again, the
That's
first
on
one?
the business and industrial sector assistance.
Oh, so,
The top one.
yep,
provides-
gotcha.
Yeah,
Provide and support access to,
yeah.
okay.
'Cause
So
I
that's
don't,
Bernie.
right now, we don't have any place we can put a big business, or very little, so. And then my other one was the one right below it.
Yeah,
Andrea said that provide technical assistance. The one below it, update industrial park master plan, and including review of current bylaws, regulations governing the park, and assessing developable land remaining. I mean, I don't know if we have a place where we can develop that.
I think that bullet is if you have one, updating it.
Okay,
That's
we
why I
don't
went to
have
the
one.
bullet before
Okay,
and
then the
saying,
one
let's
above it
create
then.
one.
Okay, well,
Oh,
the one
okay.
above it, we can create one then.
Right.
Okay, so
If
that.
we had one, we could look to updating it, assessing the regulations, the
Well,
bylaws.
that was my next question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we had one, we didn't.
No, we
'Cause I
did
knew we
not.
had a
Keep talking about
economic
it.
development committee, but they all resigned.
Business Park Committee, yeah.
Yeah, business park.
Yeah, we
so-
talk about it, but we just haven't gotten far enough.
Okay, they never got to that. That was my top priority,
Okay,
is
yep.
developing. And then my last one, my third priority was under older adult services. Senior center expansion and regional sharing. I mean, they're doing a lot, but it's nice if they can do a regional sharing and I think the expansion of that, I mean, we have a lot of seniors in town. I thought we should target something for them. And those are my three.
Okay. Mary, do you want to go next?
Do we only get 3?
Well, we're trying to get to a consensus of 3, but I thought it would be important to just go around and see where we're overlapping, because
Okay.
that'll make it simpler.
Sure.
If we've got like 5 people who all want the same thing, then that'll help. But
Okay, great. I will go ahead. Provide and support access, like Bernie said.
So you're talking the
to
senior
small
one?
business.
Oh, small
assistance.
business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Provide industry support to expand tourism, and specifically tourism. Develop pop-up park art projects for Main Street. And then my 4th one, because I won't go on then,
yeah,
would just be the abandoned and distressed property inventory in action.
have we done that before?
We
Andrea?
talked about it before.
The abandoned?
No, you haven't done one.
We brought it up, but we never
Right.
really go any further with it.
Mhm.
I wasn't aware that we had a whole lot of those, do we?
I didn't think we did either. I know we need to revisit a couple of potential ones
Yeah.
from the past. Do we need this kind of support in order to do that? How does that?
Distressed
It's not
buildings
just,
was-
it's not just Main Street, this would be your town.
Right, yeah, I
Yeah.
know that.
I was
I'm thinking-
really concentrating on distressed buildings.
But there are houses that no one's living in. You have some
Yeah.
properties that
I know.
are
Yeah.
unoccupied and have been empty for years. I mean, I can think of 2 right now,
Yeah,
because
I
we
can
looked at
think of
them.
one at the corner of Maple and Main. It's falling into the ground.
There was 2, one on East Street that we thought about for the emergency
I'd love to buy
services.
it.
That
Couple, I
farmhouse
know.
there, and then they're the same
Could be
people own the
some.
one further down Maple.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, so that was
All right.
that was my 4th.
good,
And
okay,
I'll stop there.
good.
Okay.
As
you.
usual, we're going to have plenty to choose from.
Mhm.
All right, Heath?
First one I want to mention was the under economic development and housing. It was the provide industry specific support to expand, promote, and preserve important economic sectors. So try to promote our ecotourism efforts even further. I like that one. Under the community economic development, the very first one, conduct a survey to see what the residents of business and visitors want from economic activity. I think that would kind of add to what Mallory's doing. So that would be a good one. And then lastly, the OSHA risk management person, because I have part of this in my job and I know how complex it can actually be. So if we can share that services with somebody. that
And
would
get
be-
going on it proactively?
Yeah, just because it is a
that-
significant time investment. I'm not sure how much municipalities have to do though, because I think they have a free pass on it.
No.
I'm not sure
they
if
don't.
they don't, OSHA 300, they don't have to do logging on all that. I know they don't.
Right, but we don't have a pass, though. All the facilities have to be OSHA
They're
compliant.
compliant, it's just the reporting factors on OSHA 300, you don't have that
I
requirement.
don't
That's
know.
where the
They
significant
keep
portion of it comes
emailing
in.
me for my report. But
For
we
an
are,
OSHA 300 report, municipalities
I
and
don't think we're exempt.
they are.
Oh, well, I keep getting one. Or maybe it's a different reporting department, maybe it's not the 300. But they
If
want
it
an-
is 300, if for
they
some
want an
reason we have to,
annual
that's a
report.
huge time investment.
They want an
so we're
annual
gonna need
report
it.
on all injuries, and we do
Yeah.
have an annual report for that. Some
Okay.
kind, maybe it's not the 300, I'll go look.
Those are my 3.
Okay. So my 3 were, I had Northfield, on the first page, I had Northfield Mountain Pump Storage Project. This is going to be an ongoing process. It has to do with them, not just the FERC relicensing, but coming before the Mass Department of Environmental Protection on the certification of their water quality process. So that's a top priority for me. And then I had pollinator habitat corridor, so I'm with Steve on that one. That's a few towns have done that, and I'd love to see Northfield. I think Open Space was interested in that at one point too. And then I was open on I thought something under community economic development. To me, it was like, what's the next logical step beyond what Mallory's doing, right? Rather than, what's the next logical step? Because we always have, similar to what Bernie was talking about with the industrial park, there's the technical assistance and then the industrial park master plan. So some of these we're kind of staging ourselves for next year as well.
Well, to give Mary some interest, we are putting in for one of our 5 preliminary interests on the One Stop about pop-up park and public spaces. So one of our 5 areas of interest is going in on that.
Oh, great.
We can put 5 in if we get in before February 8th, and then the state gives you feedback. They tell you what you should apply under. They give you hints or technical assistance on how to apply, how to make if your application's a good one, if it's likely to get funded, through what program in the One Stop it could be funded. So Mallory and I are already working. In fact, we have another meeting tomorrow on what those 5 would be, because after the 8th, you only get to put in for 2 or 3 for their assistance. You can still apply in May for more, but we want as much feedback as we can get. So we're going to go in for the 5, and one of the ones we're putting in for is one of these to look at the street where could we put seating, pop up, that kind of thing as one of our possible grants.
And that's what we talked about when we talked about recreation a year ago, was pop-up parks.
Right.
So
So that is definitely going into to the state as one of our, give us some feedback on whether or not this would be a good grant for us.
so if it's under that, then it doesn't need to be under here.
Yeah, I don't think so,
Okay.
only because they'll tell us whether that's a fundable project for us. And the FERCog would help us do I think something similar.
Okay,
So we can get that through that program and save ourselves
okay,
on this one.
all right. Those are mine. Alex?
Okay. So I picked 3. I got 3 here. The first one would be a senior center expansion and regional sharing. Got to take care of our seniors. There's over 1,000 of them in Northfield. Our population is close to 3,000, so that makes up 1/3 of our residents. They are very important people. They've lived a very long life, and I think their services need to be enhanced, and perhaps a network of creating an expansion of the senior center. I know there are going to be people who are against that type of expanding, but I would just like to see more happen for them, and I thought that would be a good option to choose under older adult services. My second choice is the roadway speed study. I'm very passionate about that in town. I don't like people speeding in town. I don't like people going 50 miles an hour down Warwick, which they do. So what it says here, I'll just read it directly. Assess roadway speeds and prepare speed zoning study to provide guidance for new or revised regulatory speed limits on local roadways. We've tried this before, and it puts a burden on our town administrators, so we can prevent that by putting it onto the FERCog, and maybe they can come up with something or help us with that. So I chose roadway speed study. And then the last one, under public safety for municipal shared service, is to look at expanding the idea of police regionalization. We're in a situation now where if Greenfield PD has the issues it's going to have with eliminating the 11 to 7 shift, it's going to affect every town in this area. And these towns, we need to start thinking of how we're going to worry about an understaffed issue in our county. So when the state police is only running a couple cruisers on at nighttime to cover the entire county, that's not good, because if somebody in Northfield needs backup, there's no help. So that's where we're at this point, and that's where it's a serious problem. So
Alex, where is that?
it's under municipal service sharing. That's on page 5. So I would just like to see some research done in police regionalization and what we can do to start sharing services more in a format where we see with Bernardston and Leiden, and perhaps other state agencies that can provide county level law enforcement. So
And this is different than what we're already doing now with working, like with the state police, for example, and
Right,
the
but what I'm
sheriff.
saying is it's not going to work because the state police doesn't have the staffing. So we have to start thinking of other ideas to correctly staff public safety in our county, because we don't have a lot of staffing at the moment, or budget
Okay.
for that sense. So, so that's a big deal for me, so I chose that one.
Okay, thank you. Anything, any questions so far on anybody else's priorities? No? Okay, so our challenge is to collapse these into 3 to 4, actually 3. I think we've always done we've always had like a backup list as well, like we've done 4 or 5 to just in case there's, because this goes to FERCog, and then depending on, other towns are submitting theirs as well, so there might be some priorities coming in from other towns that we can piggyback on, so we end up getting more than the 3. Am I right on that?
Yeah, we've done,
Okay.
that's happened.
Okay. And the other question I had for you, Andrea, is I was just looking on the note from Steve Sarandinsky.
Yeah.
He had large-scale solar bylaw revision to reflect new information, new state legislation, and pertinent legal findings submitted in conjunction with pollinator habitat corridor. So is he looking at those as combining those into one?
No, those are 2 separate things.
Oh,
As far, I mean, on the sheet they are. But there has been major legislative change with solar under the new law that passed. And it's affecting actually the permit we have now, so.
okay, so,
I just went through and checked off every one of them that had 2 people on it. Still not 3 or 4, but it might.
okay,
So you had the pollinator habitat corridor has 2. The business and industry sector assistance, providing and supporting assistance to small businesses and resources has 2, 3, because Heath's kind of in that one too.
Yep.
So that one's actually kind of a 3. Then there's 2 for technical assistance on the industrial park. There's 2 on the risk management OSHA, 2 on the senior center. And I think that's everything that had 2 or 3. So that was 5 of them.
okay. And mine under economic development was the pop-up park, and that's going to be handled potentially by the,
Yeah, I think we
By
can
the one
start, we can
stop.
start with our grant and see what happens with that.
okay, so I'm going to
Move forward.
change mine to the large-scale solar bylaw revision, because I think that's based on what we've been through. I think it's really important. I think we're going to continue to have pressure from a large-scale solar standpoint, so I would vote for that. Okay, how to get down to 3? Suggestions?
How many do we have?
How many did you come up that had 2 or more?
Just adding the, so if I remove that one, let's see what we got here. So we have pollinator habitat corridor, that was you and Steve. We have 3 people for the business and industries sector assistance, which kind of still blends with Mary's too, talking about support for access to small business and assistance and resources, which kind of all comes together. So that was 2. Bernie and I both did technical assistance to create a park, but if you keep me out of it, B moves off of the one on the public art. So
Well,
risk management is me
Go
and
ahead.
Heath, but Alex and Bernie like a senior center, the senior center support, an expansion there, and then you've got 2 if you count Steve for large scale commercial solar. So 1,
is
2,
this,
3, 4, 5.
okay,
I mean, I'm assuming you have quite a number of voices on business and industry sector assistance for supporting access to small business and assistance resources, and/or industry specific being tourism with Mary's emphasis, but I think we could probably roll that into one if that's people's general.
The tourism?
I would throw it onto the end. I would say that you're in support, you'd like to provide support access to small businesses with assistance and resources, maybe focusing somewhat on tourism in the area. So you can
That's
kind of
always been a big
push
thing,
into
you know.
Well,
with
because
the-
we do have overlap, right, on these businesses benefit from tourism. So what you're saying is kind of combine it so
I mean,
that
I think they can see how that
would
you're,
fit.
You're targeting to some extent, but
Yeah.
telling them, yeah.
Okay.
So that could be one of them.
Would that work for folks? I mean, we're kind of tailoring and saying we want to combine menu
Yeah.
options into
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But
Can't
they're
choose them all.
Not that far apart.
No, we can't.
Okay. I can go along with that.
Too.
And that's what you were saying, Heath, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would combine what Heath had, Mary had, Bernie had,
With business and industry
and
sector assistance.
I can throw mine on that one too.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do we look?
We're getting there.
That's one definite, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a
That's a
definite, because
definite. We're gonna
that's
rank order
1,
them
2,
1, 2, 3, but I'm
3,
not doing that yet. You guys will decide when you picked them.
4. That sounds like, Alex,
then-
you didn't have anything on that.
No,
Okay.
I did not.
Okay. All right, so that sounds like a good one.
Then you have the senior, OSHA, business park, large-scale solar, pollinator habitat.
Can we combine large-scale solar with the pollinator?
We want to track them via solar.
Well, because that was supposed to be one of the things about the solar was being able to grow things. Just thinking. That's what it looked like Steve had written down, so I'm... On the senior center, is that something you guys have talked about with Colleen?
No.
Well,
I mean, would it put, I'm just wondering, does
they've
that...
talked about their priorities,
Okay,
and they are they're talking about possibly getting younger seniors in. You know, right now, mostly, 65 and above, but they'd like some of the people that are, they don't have to be 65 to go to the senior center. They can be younger. They have lots, enjoy having 40-year-olds come into their coffee hours and that.
Yeah.
Well, they've got art classes now. They've got a lot
They have
going
a lot
on. Sometimes
going
we go
on,
down there
and
and
they
they've got 2 or 3 sessions during the day.
And the place is so pretty. I love the
Yeah.
paint job. It's lovely going
And
in
they're always
there.
playing music, and
Yeah.
they've got food a lot, and they do
Yeah.
they do a lot of different things down there now. Their calendar is packed.
I love it.
so when you're talking about, when they talk about expansion here, so is that what you mean by expansion,
Well,
is
I'm
the age
talking
range?
If the new EMS building goes in
Yeah,
eventually, how would we expand the senior center if the amount of seniors continue to show up, grows? It'd be nice to kick John out of his office, and they could kind of take that space. Things like that. I mean, just looking at expansion.
mm-hmm.
We really don't have a place to build a senior center. Unless they want to revamp the fire station, but I think that's a big project.
A lot of money.
I think that's too big a project. I think the cost of it would be very prohibitive.
Renovating for handicapped accessibility
Right,
probably
that's
alone
what I mean,
doesn't.
and just everything there.
But
so-
something we can throw out.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's what I meant by that. Just,
Okay.
when we do the
It's
reasons.
always good to look at that.
Are you keeping count? Can we
Yep.
kind of rank these in terms of the number of folks?
When do we have to decide this? The 27th.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah, so
So-
now.
So yeah. So the number one that came in with the most was the economic development one, the economic one.
The small
Okay.
business
Right.
combined with tourism.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was
okay.
certainly that was
All right.
certainly
So that's number one.
had the most
Okay.
All right.
interest.
What's
Now,
number 2?
We have
What has
pollinator
the most?
habitat, industrial park, risk management, senior center, bylaws. Those are really the others.
What was the first one? I'm sorry.
You have pollinator habitat.
Oh, right, okay.
Those are the one, I'm just going with the now that have the same number of votes.
Mhm.
So pollinator habitat, industrial park,
Right. Industrial park.
risk management,
Risk management.
senior center,
Okay, so
large
number
scale
two-
bylaws.
Number two is risk.
I mean, we could hold off if you want, Bernie, on the idea of the industrial park, only because there may be grant funding for
Well,
that.
that was the thing too, I was wondering,
And
and
I've
we
looked-
don't have a bid committee anymore. 'Cause they
No.
resigned. Until we do, you know, we may get some information or something and nobody to act on it. So maybe we
But let me
wanna-
look into it too, to see if there's any kind of,
Mhm.
B, what's the senior center under again? What title?
Older adult services.
I think that should be number two. Or one of them.
I think it all depends on, does this fit into what Colleen's expecting to do? I don't want to put a burden on a department head without having that discussion with them, so I'm
Uh-huh.
just a little, that's why I'm not questioning the purpose or the end result so much as, is this in line with the department
I think
heads?
you're gonna find, you know, Colleen puts in a lot of time, a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's down there now.
You know, and down there. in
Yep.
Cedar. You know, we expand or do any more programs, I think you're gonna find we'll need to hire another person to help out there. I don't think, you know, you can expect one person to do, I wouldn't expect her to do more than she's already doing.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we do risk management. and
Well, let's
then
do
the,
this. So if number one is the small business combined with tourism,
Right,
why don't we go around and pick whatever your next top one is based on this whole discussion?
okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
If, you know, if you feel strongly about senior, or I'm a little concerned about the OSHA one because that's kind of a,
oh, we can look into it further.
Right, but we only have senior, OSHA, and industrial.
Pollinator,
Pardon?
pollinator,
Oh, I don't like the pollinator.
and the solar
large scale solar
bylaw.
bylaw. It would be a bylaw revision, which they have.
Oh, I didn't hear those two.
They have the largest, they have Peggy Sloan who does all the.
And is there
bylaw.
any more then that have,
I have two, no, those are the
okay.
ones.
So from a timing standpoint, retirement is looming within FERCog, so I would also be picking, that's where the expertise is, and she's going to be rolling off and they're going to be bringing on a new person within the next couple of years. So I would also keep that in mind. This is somebody who has deep, deep knowledge of the area. Anyway, just a thought, based on what I know from the FERCog stuff.
Okay, so I guess we go around and do it again.
Yeah,
you wanna
Bernie?
start?
Well, my second one would still be the senior center.
Okay,
Okay, Bernie Senior.
what's your second one,
I'm
Mary?
doing pollinator.
Okay. Heath?
I'm gonna go with the shared services,
The police?
the OSHA.
Oh, OSHA, okay.
I'm gonna go with OSHA too. I just have a feeling that's gonna kick our butt at some point.
Mhm.
Alex?
OSHA. Go with that.
Yeah.
You're gonna get another vote too, because we're gonna go around for number three.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay, so we got OSHA on that one.
three. Okay, so that's on number
Now we have
two. All right.
So what are we down to as far as the top ranking ones go? You eliminate those.
I think you
two
still
that we
have
picked?
pollinator habitat. I think you have the senior
Solar.
center, solar bylaws.
Mhm. And I think that's it, right?
That have two on them. Might be it.
Senior center, pollinator, solar.
Okay. So for number 3,
Bernie.
Bernie, you're gonna go with senior center?
Yeah, I just want to give them as much support as I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary?
Pollinator.
What senior center?
He, senior.
I'm going to do large scale solar with pollinator.
B, solar.
Alex?
What's the vote?
We're on number 3.
Number 3, but there's 2
Looks
for
like
the
you have
senior
senior
center.
center.
Oh, so far we have 2 for the senior center and 2 for the solar pollinator.
One
Combo.
each for the solar and pollinator.
Mm-hmm.
If we did a combo, then we've got 2.
So I'm not breaking any vote, am I?
No.
Nope.
Oh, municipal service sharing.
The police one?
Yeah, public safety.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Public safety. So I guess it's senior center then, because 2 people voted. Oh, there's 2 and 2.
No, you did senior. You did.
Pollinator.
Senior.
I did large scale solar
And Alex did public
slash
safety.
pollinator. And you did regional sharing for police.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what do we do? Go around it.
Well, I think that's up to you. Do you want to, I mean, I think you could probably do 3 and we usually put in like a 4th.
Yep.
So it sounds to me like senior,
Senior.
and
Pollen.
then the pollinators or somehow wording the large scale solar. in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Do you have a preference on order?
Now, I
3
would
and
say
4.
if I had to put a 4th one, I'd agree with Alex on the shared services.
For police.
If I had to go a 4th one, that's all.
And we need Heath.
I don't know. There's a lot to choose from.
What?
Solar.
He's going with solar for number 4. So we're doing senior center 3, solar pollinator 4.
yep, okay.
Yeah.
I'll see how I can.
Can you find
Word
out though
those.
on the Northfield Mountain? Because that definitely affects Northfield, and I think we worked it out.
Okay.
I want to know what their thinking is on that going forward.
Okay, that was good.
Okay, good work, you guys.
All right.
Okay, next. Okay, and remember this for next year because we'll be doing it all over
Every
again.
year.
Okay, now we're going to do ARPA, and we have an update on the storefront improvement. And at the ARPA committee meeting, and Mallory indicated that Mary and Bernie, you had weighed in with her on the application and the program description. Did you want to talk a little bit about your feedback?
No, she called me and we talked for a minute, and I just let her know that I gave out a copy of the form and told him it was a draft to Jody.
Oh, okay.
Because he has a lot of storefronts, and his only question was, that's not just Main Street, like some of these side streets where he, the building's off. I said, yeah, it's not just on, it doesn't have to be facing just Main. He has a lot of storefronts there that, it would be really nice to improve, and I gave him a copy of that so that he's probably going to get in touch with Mallory.
Okay, good. There was some feedback, and I don't know who this was from. So Mallory, if you look in the ARPA booklet on page, they're not numbered, but the first page is the storefront renovation grant program. And then the second page is just the rest of the form. And then the third page is a memo from Mallory dated 1/19. So based on the feedback from our last meeting, Mallory contacted Mary and Bernie. And I guess, Mary, you were going through the application process, as I understand it,
I
from a
did.
business standpoint.
Yep.
So she found that feedback really helpful, and 2 changes that she came up with based on those conversations were making sure that we included tax exempt organizations for the program. because there might be some tax exempt organizations who have customer facing operations in the district, and we didn't want them to feel excluded from the program.
Right.
So that was number one. And then number two was there was feedback to make sure that it was both paper and online.
Right.
So those were the only two changes to the program.
Mm-hmm.
And so based on what we did last time, we approved reserving the money. And then this time what we need to do in order for them to move forward is to accept the program as described with these two minor modifications so that she can get going.
And the application, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So the money and the application.
Right.
So are you guys all set on that?
That's fine.
Okay, so do you feel like we can move forward, or do we need
I
more
do.
discussion?
I feel like
Okay,
we can move forward.
okay, because I want to keep it moving. All right, so we would need to, how do we word this? We need to accept the recommendation of the ARPA committee to allocate the $100K for the program, get it started, and include the two minor modifications.
Well, I don't know if you're going to accept the recommendation of the ARPA committee, I don't think you have to make that last week because the ARPA committee already voted to include
Oh, that's
that.
right, yeah. Okay, so the ARPA committee voted to accept her recommendation on these two minor modifications based on the feedback. So we would then be accepting the recommendation of the ARPA committee for both the program and the amount and to get it started.
I only hope that it gets used and that it's
Second.
noticeable.
Because it sounded like you just said it.
So moved, and
So moved.
did I do a motion?
It sounded very good, like a motion.
Second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
Do we need to accept this application too, or is that
I
what
think
that?
it was part of it.
No,
Should
that's
accept
part
it.
of
Well,
the,
right,
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
I just wanted to
We
make
wanted
sure
to get it
covered
started like February 1st and
Yep.
get it out there.
Yep.
Because we wanted people to have like the spring and summer to actually do this. If they go through the application process,
Yeah.
Yeah.
people could get this underway this year.
And then we'll have her come back and do updates. And as we've said before on ARPA funds, as if things are not completely expended, then we will vote to get the money, claw the money back, so to speak. So if something doesn't get used or it doesn't cost the same amount that we're anticipating, that money will come back in and we'll vote on that at a later point.
Right.
Okay,
Quick question.
yes.
Wasn't I gonna be on some board with Mallory? Was there talk about that?
Is she going to, are you going to be part of the review for this? Or are you going to appoint a select board member?
I don't know.
I think it says,
Remember when she was here and?
right, we don't have to pick that tonight, but once the applications come in, I think the review committee is listed.
We're going to need a review committee for
Right.
the applications that are coming in.
They're being
Oh, right.
reviewed.
Yeah.
Review
So
committee
I'm not
will
on
be,
any board with her, right?
Not yet.
no, it will be reviewed by a committee including the town administrator, grant development director, and, well, it says member of the ARPA committee.
Oh,
It
good.
says it this time.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, you dodged the bullet there.
Okay, but thanks for the clarification, yeah.
We'd be happy to have your
I-
opinion.
That's okay, we can
No, we would.
vote you on there, that's no problem.
That could happen too, yes.
Okay.
Never say no to service.
Okay, and then the second ARPA request is for $21,636.65 from the Highway Department. The amount,
You have the application, you have the application in
Yep.
here, so you guys can see.
Can I read what it's for?
yep,
The amount requested is for attachments for the new Ventrac. The attachments are a broom to help with spring cleanups around all town buildings and roads, and a V-plow for when the snow is too heavy and wet, doing the sidewalks. Also for a turbine blower for spring-fall cleanups to clean ditches and leaves, etc. The last request is to replace a blower that is failing on our older 2012 tractor.
They discovered, and I'm sure they had that fun experience today, that when the snow is very heavy and wet like it is, the equipment that it came with, it doesn't have a good V-plow to actually push that stuff off. They have a good plow that they use in the lighter snow, and it brushes and there's actually, when it's really light, they find that they're actually pushing it into it rather than just.
And you
brushing
would
it.
only know something like that by trial and error.
And
you know?
especially when we're gonna do
They have to
leaves.
find out by using it.
And with the leaves, it'll be nice to have that because it'll push the leaves off. You don't plow leaves.
Right,
So they discovered it once they started using it,
yeah.
that there might be some of these things that we can use around the back parking lots.
Do we make a motion on this?
Yeah, actually, so the ARPA committee recommended funding this request, so you would make a motion to accept the recommendation of the ARPA committee.
Okay, I motion that we accept the recommendation from the ARPA committee for the funds of $21,636.65 to the town of Northfield for the
Highway equipment
highway equipment that I just mentioned
that you read out.
there.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. And the third one is a biggie, but it's important. We are talking about $50,000 for hearing equipment, hearing loops.
Oh,
And this is not only for town hall, so they would be available here in this meeting room, but also in Dickinson Library and downstairs in the senior center, right?
There's different programs going on here. Here, you would have something that people would be allowed to put on or to hear or Bluetooth. If you have hearing aids that are Bluetooth, this allows you to participate in that. Downstairs, they will actually run it. So it's going to be under the floor, hence the flooring. And because they can't put it anywhere. Here they'll have to run, because it's a loop. They put it in a room so it's like, so you can hear from anywhere you're sitting. So there'll be a piece of equipment here that you can put on and you would be able to hear from that sound. Downstairs they're going to run the loop literally in the flooring. So you'd be able to hear it from there. The library also in their meeting room so people could hear presentations there.
Mary, did you have a
And this is specifically designed for the hearing impaired?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's what this is for.
Mm-hmm.
People who are hearing impaired or profoundly deaf
Mm-hmm.
would have the ability to either have a hearing aid or wear a piece of equipment that will allow them to hear meetings, events, participate in various things happening at the library or the senior center. And then any meeting that happens in this room, not just the select board, but any meeting or event that happens in this room, they would be able to use that.
It's a lot of money.
So, but it's 3 different built rooms, but you have the description, so.
Yep.
And the quote from the vendor on doing the work, plus the hardware.
Well, it looks like a lot of work. And we would
Yes.
tackle the senior center, the library, and this meeting room.
We did apply for an ADA grant for this. We did not receive the funding, so they came to us for this.
For ARPA.
And there's a
Through
lot
ARPA.
of information here. You probably don't even have it all. There was a lot of information supplied, and I have it in the grant folder, more than the last sheet even that talks from Franklin Medical, that talks about the amount of people who have hearing impairment. It isn't just seniors. There are a lot of people who have hearing impairment who aren't seniors.
Who chose the contracting company?
You're talking about the ones that
Shanahan?
Shanahan,
Yeah.
the senior center.
Mm-hmm.
They went through that process.
Okay.
So they're saying the numbers from the audiologist were as many as 85.
That's just one. That's just Bay State Franklin. But if you read the grant, which I didn't give you the full pages and pages of, there are, like Alber Hearing, the one before, it says we have 176 clients from Northfield with hearing aids.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
Bay State
Oh, okay.
Audiology says we have 85 patients. So you start to add, that's just 2 of the ones in
So
the
we
area
have
that
at
responded.
over 200
That
then.
was just these 2. There's more audiologists. Just these 2
Right.
responded to their request when they asked for information.
So we have
She said
at
they
least
sent it out to
200.
multiple places, but they didn't hear back from them all.
Right, but this gives us a starting point, which is at
Right.
least 200 people have hearing problems in
As
Northfield.
reported by these 2.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So this came recommended by the ARPA committee, and one of our ARPA committee members has a hearing issue, so she was bullish on this. So it comes recommended by the ARPA committee. How does the board feel? Do you want to move forward with this on the recommendation from the ARPA committee to accept this?
Should I make a motion?
Sure. Yep, we need one.
I motion that we accept the, not proposal, right? Because it's-
Recommendation.
recommendation of ARPA for use of funds in the amount of $50,000 for the senior center, council on aging, and the Shanahan Intelligent Sound and Video company for hearing equipment.
Second.
And just a friendly amendment,
Yes.
it's this meeting room, the library, and the senior center.
To include
Yep.
the select board meeting room, the library, and the senior center amended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion and a second from Alex. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you.
We're spending a lot of money.
We're getting there. Well, we wanted to make sure
That's
it
what
was,
it's for, though.
right,
That's
and we
why
wanted to make sure it
absolutely.
was allocated.
It's
Right, and
Right.
it takes a while for some of these things to be spent.
And it's not willy-nilly. These have all been well thought out.
And documented.
Mhm.
Okay, and well, we'll talk about this later, but I'll keep ARPA in front of the select board as long as we need to in order to make sure we're moving through the process by the deadline. Okay, next thing is select board budget.
Just wanted to run this by you, since this is technically your budget line items. I think I gave it to you, it's in your homework, so
Yep.
you can, if you have any questions on that. Just can run through some of the changes that I'm proposing, that you consider in,
I hate this.
Can you just explain as you go, or
Sure.
overall?
so the
Did
salaries.
you change some of the line items to reflect?
Different changes, right,
okay.
so for the first thing, the select board salaries is going to be updated when they do the COLA. So that's why it's blank right now. It
When they
doesn't-
do the what?
COLA, when the
Right.
finance committee does their COLA,
Yeah.
I update that. The
Okay.
telephone is up, I've raised the cost on that. We have a new system, and we're working to integrate the new phones into the system, and hopefully I'm working to integrate, for example, Highway just got new phones. I suspect all that's gonna get integrated into our phone bill, because it's a once a month integrated voice over IP system. So that'll probably mean we're gonna inherit him into the system, which will be an additional charge, which is fine with me. The idea of centralizing the phone bill is not a bad one.
Oh, okay, so it'll always come under the select board even, okay.
Right, so the phone
Gotcha.
bill needs to
Okay.
reflect that.
And then it looks like you carved out .gov, Civic Plus, ClearGov.
Right, that's just notes to me. What's in blue
Okay.
is not an actual line item. When you look at the budget voted at town meeting, or the budget that's in the spreadsheets, you'll see the 01, 022, that's your actually, 01 is general fund, 122 is select board accounts.
Yeah,
I put those little things in blue as a breakdown to kind of show how I get to the number above.
We don't see
So the-
blue because
so the
it's
blue-
black and white.
Okay, but the light thing under, that
Right,
says
yeah.
.gov, Civic Plus, ClearGov, that feeds into the one above it. That's why there's no numbers next to them, because they're actually the budget up top.
Of the
technology budget.
technology budget.
That's why they don't
Okay.
have numbers next to them.
okay.
And that's just so that you can kind of see the breakdown on what's happening in each one of those. So,
So
there's
those are
no,
going up?
a little
overall.
bit, just a little bit, but just $100 in .gov. Those are registration fees mostly, so we're at a whim to whatever the registration is annually.
Oh, you mean the domain name?
The .gov is our domain
Oh.
name that we own.
Oh, okay.
Civic Plus is our website. ClearGov is the other site that we have. So those are all annual fees.
Okay.
So we have to,
So there's nothing new here,
No,
this is
those
what
are
we
not-
normally pay
Close.
for.
It's a $1,300 difference.
yeah, no, it's not a huge change.
Yeah.
And I try to offset with something that's not being expended as much if I can.
Okay,
So, no change in meetings and seminars. I am proposing to add to advertising, as you will see from the 2021 actual, all the way on the left. you're going over that, and I look back to 21, you went over it again as well. So
Okay.
sometimes this is a readjustment, move money out of accounts you're not spending into money you are. That's just a tracking device. You're not overexpending the select board
Right.
general budget at all, but I'm
It's
moving
on
them
this
around.
particular line item, we're
That
overspending.
is consistently
Okay.
being, so.
All right. And that's advertising for positions and
It's all
hearings
sorts
and
of
things like that.
advertising,
Okay.
yes. It can
All
be
those times Sandy
jobs,
puts
Yeah.
things in the paper, it probably comes out of that budget.
Yeah.
jobs. I mean, some of the committees have advertising, some do not, and they're certainly for jobs. We always do
We pay
advertising.
$1,000 a year for the door lock software annual fee.
Less than that, but I round it up because I don't know what next year's is gonna be. So then we're going down further, we haven't changed postage, we haven't changed other purchase services, that's all.
I'm sorry, that much for Zoom? Licenses, email, Zoom?
Oh, it's licenses, emails, Zoom, our Zoom account is $300 a year,
Okay.
because we have 2 licenses and an annual professional one.
Okay.
So what's the 10,300 then?
That's the total of all, of the 10,300 for licenses. We have other licenses to other small softwares.
So all the software is combined?
I just.
Like
lump them
Microsoft,
together.
Office?
All the 360 is paid for mostly out of the network management and Northeast IT. And the
Okay.
reason that's going up is because every time we add these emails for boards and committees,
Mhm. We end up paying.
that's a monthly fee. So I'm trying to slowly get all the boards and committees an email as we upgrade their
Right.
tech, but that means then I add a monthly fee. So when I went to the Conservation Commission with a northfieldma.gov email, that gets added in. It's now supported and it's archived, which is the most important thing. People who have these old accounts that are just doing Gmail, that's not archived, and these are public documents, public communications. By
Yeah.
law, we have to produce them. So slowly converting all the boards onto one board email means that we are now archiving that information for
So
legal
this is
purposes.
going to continue to go up incrementally as you bring each committee up to
Right.
speed? Okay.
Not too much. I don't think I have too
I
many
think you've
left, but
made-
I'm slowly moving everybody in.
The big one to work on is the CONSCOM, because they have
They've got
so
one
many
now.
public
They've
documents.
got an email now.
Okay,
Planning board
good.
has an email now. I still have a few outliers, like ZBA hasn't been brought in.
Okay.
But we're working towards that.
Professionalizing,
Well, it needs to be archived.
It's
Those
professional, yeah.
are public documents.
And supported,
So so if something happens and their
And
email
backed
isn't
up.
working,
yeah.
then we've got an IT support.
I just like looking at the difference in governmental methods at the local level from like 60, 70 years ago compared to like how professional things are now and how we've, kind of perfected local level administration. I just always find that interesting when we bring things like that up.
Well, there's so many legal requirements
Pieces
that
of
we have to
paper.
really try
Laws.
to meet that. And, and keep the town, when no one's trying to hide anything, we're trying to keep it above board.
Right.
So we want to find a way. And the other thing is if we do have a records request and someone said, I want all the communication from X, Y, and Z, Northeast IT as our vendor would help us fulfill that request.
Okay,
So
cool.
that's part of what we pay for.
Okay.
So those are really the big changes.
So the bottom line is the total number is, the percent is 1.8% more based on you shifting from the different line items? Are we reading that correctly?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Is everybody okay with this budget
Are
then?
we okay to approve it?
I want to see the salaries go up.
Oh, yes, I forgot to say that. I was going to mention that. We had talked about that discussion last year, and
Yep.
I'd like to enhance that discussion again of raising the select board member salaries.
We got the planning board squared away, and I think it's time to compensate us for how much time is put on this board. We are here hours and hours and hours at a time. I've never seen someone put so much time into it as B's been putting into it.
Absolutely.
I know it's not about the
That's
money,
for
but
sure.
Absolutely.
all of us aren't going to be here for years upon years, and it would be great that somebody could look at this and be like, I'm contributing to my community, but also this is a decent amount of money I can get for a part-time job. It's it's worth it for my evenings to get something in return. I know Bernie's been an advocate on the volunteerism of it, but the direction that we're moving the planning board and I think we should move the school committee up as well, because we are not enticing anybody for that. I mean, we have vacant positions and stuff on the school committee, but, advocating just for the select board, I think this is long overdue. I'm looking at the salary comparisons right now, and towns like Gill are $400 per person higher than us as of right now. Just looking at our neighbors nearby, we're just on a lower end of the scale, and for a select board that has as much going on as Northfield does, we put in, I think, far more time than anybody else does. I watched some of the meetings and have been at some of them, and we put in a lot of time, so I think it should be compensated a little bit better.
We are. May I?
Yes,
Okay. Want to get your stopwatch out?
yes. I've got my eye on the clock.
Okay. Had to.
I know.
We are all individually, at any point, as representatives of the town. We are not mercenaries of the town. We are representatives of the town. We are devoted, loyal public servants that are looking to keep track of what our residents want, as this is what we have been elected to do. And we are open to liability constantly. I've been served papers before for matters that are finally over with, that have happened with the town as a select board. And it's one of those things where it's like, that can happen. Like, all it takes is any of us in this meeting to say something wrong and we can get sued. That's a lot of responsibility to have on your shoulders when you're in a voluntary position. You have to look at it more than just being a volunteer for your community. I just mentioned a second ago, based on how towns operated 60, 70, 80 years ago, not the same as it is now. There are so many laws out there that we have to be in compliance with. And all it takes is one resident to say, oh, you're not following this law. I'm going to sue you, or I'm going to call the Attorney General. And now the town has a lawsuit. So we have to be very mindful of not only all of the laws that exist, but also of ourselves in reflection of what is being said out there. The issues that we've covered with hiring important monumental positions like the police chief, dealing with this Soulfest nonsense, dealing with ARPA and taking in the public opinion of positive and negativity. It's not worth $2,300. I want to get the exact amount here. $2,352.25. That's not worth it. And if you're going to eventually want to attract people into the position, that often can get very negative, very dirty, very messy for what I had just mentioned, okay? You need to start paying people what they're worth and stop looking at it as, I just wanted to volunteer.
All right, Alex, so
yeah, that's a...
we were at this point last year, so I'm just, pause that thought just for a moment. I want to ask Andrea a technical question. When does the FinCom look at the select board budget?
You don't have an appointment for it yet because you're not generally doing enough to do that. If you were to propose something, you probably would want someone to come before the board.
Right. So we have a meeting coming up on the 30th with FinCom. Is this something that you want to talk about stipends with the FinCom?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So can we, so I think the key thing is, we had this discussion last year about how hard we work, but the key thing was coming back with some financial data proposal for each of the stipends that you mentioned, right? And then discuss those with the FinCom, because the FinCom will make a recommendation or not. So what I'm hoping we can do tonight is approve the budget as is and discuss stipends separately with the FinCom, and then update it based on that discussion.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why would we agree on the budget?
Because then the finance committee is going to say, oh, you approved it.
Right.
You approved it. We're not going to look at it anymore. You approved it. So I just don't want that to be used against us if there are members in the finance committee who do not agree with it, which there will be people who don't agree with it. And I don't want that to be in their argument.
Well,
so.
On what basis then are you putting in the amounts for stipends? Because you're not only going to be talking about select board, you're talking about school committee and others, which is what we talked about last year, was looking across the board at stipends.
So with the school committee, I think that they should probably advocate for themselves, and I would 100% support it. But I think they need to kind of advocate for themselves, like the planning board did. I'm sitting here saying that I definitely think that their time commitment is nowhere near. I mean, they're probably one of the worst off as far as what they're paid versus how much time they put in.
Yeah.
But we need them to come to us like we're advocating for ourselves, like the planning board advocated for themselves. And if they came in front of us, then yes. But I mean, to suggest something right now, I mean, I'm more interested in sort of figuring out what we're.
They're also coming before us on the 30th too.
Right,
so maybe
which
we can.
if they're listening or they hear us, I would 100% love to hear it if they would want to make a proposal to us. I think they're the ones that really should say, here's what we think we're worth. Times have changed. The school committee is a huge draw of time.
Okay.
Just kind of like what we're doing right now.
Okay, so the preference of the board then is to vote on the budget tonight. And are you proposing a specific amount then?
I can't remember what I said last year, but I'm just looking at these numbers, which were 2022 numbers. I'd like to see. Currently, it's got us. I think these are a little bit low, but it's got us listed as the chair is 2358, which I think I don't know what that's at, but it also has the members at 2219. Which, looking at this budget, it's
Right, because
out.
that's the 2022 number, this is the 2023
23.
number.
Right.
So it's a year behind that.
So these are a little bit lower, but based on what these are, I would like to see the chair go to 3,500 and each member go to 3,000.
3,000.
It's a big, significant jump, but in all reality, it's still only $3,000.
This is a job. This is a job at this point for some of us.
How much was the chair?
The chair listed here is 2,358, and I would like to see it go up to 3,500.
Thank you.
And I would like to see the individual members go up from.
It's listed in here as
2352.
2,500 was appropriated
What's
for
Gil
FY23.
Gil, I see
Yeah, the
members
chair
of
was
25,
2,500 this
25,
year.
24,
And then you
chairs
divide that by
97.
4.
Right, that's what
Irving's
I did.
4150.
Yeah.
So that's the number.
Right, 2352 for each member
Colerane's
this year.
3297.
What's the population of Irving?
Of Irving?
Yeah.
Less than 2,000, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. We have
Okay, Bernie,
Shelburne's at 3,100.
so
Wendell's at 4,000.
Wendell is at 4,000 a member.
Yeah.
are you putting forth a specific proposal, Heath? So currently the chair is at 2,500 and each member is at 2,352. This was what was appropriated for this fiscal year, FY23.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to think about that? And Bernie had some comments, I think.
Yeah.
Right, or
I just wanna,
questions?
Now, when this goes on the warrant, the townspeople vote, are they gonna vote on the warrant as a whole, on our budget as a whole? Or are they gonna get a chance to, say whether they approve of the stipends?
So that will be up to them. So when the motion is read on the floor to approve the omnibus or whatever it is, somebody can offer, I hope I'm saying this right, they can offer a special amendment if they don't agree with something that exists in the omnibus.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody there that disagrees
Then that's-
with our amounts.
They have every
bring it up,
right to as a
And then there
taxpayer.
can be a discussion, they can go on and vote.
Every right as a resident,
Okay.
as a voting person, and as a
And it
taxpayer.
doesn't, they can individually, that's why I thought it worked, that we could, any of these things on the warrant, you can go after individual pieces.
Some of them are grouped, but not salaries and stipends.
Right.
They're always identified.
Right, okay.
So there might be your overall operating budget might be grouped.
So the citizens do have a voice.
but They will see your
So-
the
They
stipends.
will have a,
That raises a really good point, Bernie. The other thing that was done last year was, it was actually, for the planning board, was a separate warrant article,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
So
that's
that
what it
also
was.
gives, rather than asking folks to find the particular line item, it could be done as a warrant article.
Yeah, that's what
Correct?
they did with the planning board last year.
Yeah.
That's why I was questioning keeping it in here as long as,
I would recommend doing it that way. I would recommend doing it as a separate article, just so that we're showing that we're not trying to sneak it in
Well,
to the
that's-
salaries.
Okay.
Make it,
that's what I was
give it
concerned.
its
I
Okay,
didn't wanna
good.
be sneaking
Thank you,
something
Bernie.
in.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think the reason it was done that way is because it didn't exist.
Okay.
So they were creating
Creating a
that line
stipend because there never
completely.
was one.
Correct. So
Yeah.
that's why it was specifically, that was the lot, it's not saying you can't do it now, I'm just saying that was the logic to do it then. Not that the select board would be hiding it so much as this planning board was actually creating something that didn't exist.
Right.
Right, and I'm not talking about, because we're talking in a public meeting, so it's not like we're hiding something, it's just that,
We're the most transparent
well,
this board has ever
it
been.
just, it puts a lot on the individual citizen to go through many multiple line items. So, so am I clear on that? We could approve this and ask for stipend increases in a separate warrant article? Is that an option?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think
What's
that
the
we
preference of
decided
the
we
board?
didn't want to approve it until.
Well, I would approve something to go in the article,
Right.
because if they turn down your warrant article,
Yeah.
You
you're
need
not getting paid
this.
at all.
Oh.
So you want to at least approve probably with your COLA, and then the article to go to the new amounts, because if you take this out altogether and the article dies,
No money.
it's not in the
Nobody's
budget.
being
So
paid
you
for
want to do
anything.
both.
Though,
Because you-
they're basically voting on it twice.
No, we would word it in such a way that it would be a new amount. In the article would supplant
Oh.
the vote.
And you'd put you'd probably put something
Yeah.
at the bottom where it's like, if this doesn't pass, it will just go back to the regular amount.
Well, if the one
Okay, so-
passes, it passes.
Right.
I
The
have a-
second one that would supplant the first one if
Correct.
it passes.
Okay, Heath.
So the question I have is, what would be the difference between putting in a COLA raise versus putting in, adjusting the stipends accordingly? I'm not understanding why we would need to do a whole separate article when it's similar to just what we're already doing.
No,
where-
you don't have to do an
Right,
article.
that's
This is a
kind of what I'm
choice
saying,
you
when
make.
you make a point with the planning board that it didn't exist, which is why it was a warrant article. So if the school committee comes in front of us, are we gonna end up putting that in as a separate article as well? Or are we gonna list it out? So I don't wanna overcomplicate things, but I wanna be transparent, but I also wanna be, why are we gonna break it out as a separate article if we put it as part of our budget?
Because then to me, then everyone would express their opinions at the town meeting then. Because they would have to go through that warrant article. I'm just offering that up as a solution, that this budget could be approved or recommended as is, and do a separate, if you want to move that proposal forward, it seems like there's two ways. You put it in here, or you leave this as is and you do a separate warrant article.
Right. And I think the amount that we're going to jump it up, or at least I want to propose to jump it up, I think it would warrant some discussion. I think people would see
Yeah.
double-digit percentage raises on it, and I think it would bring up a healthy
Yeah.
discussion.
We haven't even kept up
If
with
anybody wants to
inflation.
contest it, I would be more than happy to bring forward the many, many reasons why I think this is more than justified.
Okay, so what's the preference for tonight? Just, I'm looking at the clock and wanting to move this forward. Is the preference to vote on this as is and do the stipend increase in a separate warrant article so that it's flushed out, so to speak, made more prominent for the citizens, or what?
I like that idea because that will also give the finance committee the ability to say that it is supported or not by them.
Yeah, okay.
And then would it behoove us for each select board member to maybe write a little memo in our own words as to why we feel that we are worthy of this if it goes to the public?
I suppose you could do what you want to do. You're the select board member. You can say what you want to say.
Right? Okay,
You
thanks.
can speak at the meeting.
Mhm.
That's your First Amendment right, Mary.
Yeah. You're a citizen.
Okay, so looking at, can we vote on this as is, just so we can continue moving this through the budget process? Because I don't want to hold up. And then we have additional time for discussion with FinCom and PVRS on the 30th.
So what I'd like to propose is exactly what you just said, and maybe put it
Okay.
on a future agenda item, maybe next meeting, to discuss exactly what we would want to put in that article. Like what numbers we're actually looking at bumping
You
it
have
up
plenty
if
of
we
time.
were
The
going
warrant
to.
article comes before you, doesn't even close till March.
But we want to have a discussion with
Right,
the
right.
finance committee. I'd like to go to them
Sure.
prepared and say, here's what
Well, you
we're
have a
thinking.
joint-
So are you
You have a
taking that
joint
on?
meeting- You have a joint meeting on the 30th, starting at 6:30 technically, but we can start it earlier at 6, because the school committee's coming at 6:30.
Well, I'm gonna speak to that as well. So,
So
I
we'll
don't.
put it on at 6 with the
The
joint
30th of January.
Next Monday.
Yeah.
finance
So
committee
this is
meeting.
really the only time that we do have to discuss this.
Well,
Well, no,
unless
you
you want to
can
go
always
to
come
a
back.
FinCom meeting.
Yeah, you can come back before the FinCom, but there is a meeting already, which you would have a joint meeting with them, because the school's coming in.
I'm just
We talked
thinking they
about
would
it
all
before.
be here in person. If this is something you really want to bring up, then you move it forward and we can bring it up with the FinCom.
I want to make sure I'm not just moving it forward. I'm moving it
We are
forward with
moving it
everybody.
forward.
This isn't like a Heath Cummings agenda. I want to make
It's
sure
not a
everybody else
Heath Cummings,
is on
it's an
board.
Alex, it's a Mary, and I'm not speaking for Bernie.
I'm not feeling the same pressure, but I'm,
And I'm not speaking for B, of course.
right.
Well, that makes
I just think if there's a proposal, bring forth the proposal rather than, I would rather have the discussion on a specific proposal as opposed to quote unquote, how hard we work. I mean, that's understood, but that doesn't advance the specific salary suggestions, right? You need data to put forward, so bring forth a proposal is my recommendation. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Because otherwise we're just talking amongst ourselves about how hard we work and that is only going to go so far. Okay,
So we still need the vote.
so we still need a vote. Can we vote?
I move that we approve the, I'm sorry, I didn't have it open.
The select board budget? Proposed select board budget.
Yes, I move that we approve the select board budget dated January 19th, 2023 for the budget for fiscal year 2023.
2024.
It says 3 here.
You've
so-
got the
We're
old
in
one.
23 right now.
Right.
Right,
For
so
fiscal
it'll
year
be
20.
2024.
Fiscal year 2024.
Yes.
Second.
Yes. Motion and a second. All those in,
All
any
fine.
discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
So how
Next,
come it doesn't say 24 up here, Alex?
it says
No,
right
that's the
here in
date.
the column
Oh, right.
where it
of course.
says FY 2024 recommended request.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And it has your 2022, 2023 all for
It gets
comparison.
confusing.
Yeah.
FY
Yeah.
Yeah.
gets
Should it be
year.
my fault? We're closing out 22, working on 23, in 23 and working on 24. I'm in 3
Right.
fiscal years at a time.
Jeez. My goodness.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Annual priorities.
Annual priorities.
What is your pleasure? I put together, this was the document that we discussed back in May, so just wanted to bring it to your attention. We actually came up with these priorities last January/February, and then this was the document that I put together in May after the election. So I think a lot of these still hold up.
How are we doing on our priorities?
Well, let's take a look.
Okay.
Where would you like to start?
How about the first one?
That we're still talking
Waiting
about.
to hear from them.
What was it?
The
district.
mosquito
Oh,
district.
yeah, okay.
We're dependent on a physical,
So that's pending. What's the next one?
and we collaborated with the Board of Health on next steps. So
Right.
Just waiting on that one.
that one, whenever we've had an update on that, so I went to the Board of Health like last July, just to give them a heads up that we were on a waiting list. And then the next one was under public safety. We had site selection and building next steps, so those are all moving forward.
Okay.
So we're in the midst of that.
Lovely.
EMS regionalization study started on May
yeah.
23rd, 2022.
Yep.
When does that actually wrap up and we are
We're doing the
talking?
financial pieces right now.
Okay.
I just got a question today. We've been working on breaking out for indirect costs.
Okay.
So I think it's pretty far along.
Okay.
When are we going to have a report and some discussion about that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yes.
And Gil joined that discussion as well. Was that the question mark at one point, was
Yes.
whether or not Gil was in it? Okay. Police body cameras, progress and policy updating as needed. We have been doing that.
Yeah.
Police clinical support options grant. We just talked
Just
about
did
that
that.
at the last meeting. SRO and supporting the schools.
Still working on that.
We talked about that at the last meeting, and we will be talking about budget with the superintendent and the school committee at the next meeting, and FinCom. So under economic development, we have quite a few things. I had just put some goals down there to kind of tie together what I had under grants, projects, and programs. So the Local Rapid Recovery Program, or LRRP, we looked at that in the fall of 2021. We just did, tonight, we just did the DLTA priorities, right? Be aware of one-stop process. So is that what's coming up on February 8th?
That's the initial, we can put in 5 expressions of interest. And then they get back to us before the application deadline with feedback, look into this program, we don't think this is fundable, or maybe this is fundable, tweak this here. So that's what we're working on right now.
Okay, and do you want to talk to us about the 5 at the next meeting?
Sure.
Or, okay. All right, let's talk about that. Use ARPA to support as many different areas and departments as possible. So we've been doing that at almost every meeting. Re-engage with the Business Park Committee. What I put after that, based on the discussion and the reconfiguration of the Business Park Committee, was we needed to adapt and morph its purpose.
Right.
So I'm thinking that should be a separate agenda item based on our discussion tonight. We just looked at the DLTA priorities. We have 5 expressions of interest for the one-stop process. I think we should talk about what's the next step for this committee, because we had talked about not just having it be a business park committee, but taking it up a level and having it be business economic development committee or something along those lines. So what's your thinking, you guys? Do you want to put this on the agenda and actually form some sort of economic development committee that would build on
by the way, that was Code Red calling.
Oh,
And what are
That's
they
why
telling
you're
you?
getting it. Well, you can listen to it.
yeah, I'm getting one right now.
I'm not.
It'll give you the
Oh, I didn't
update.
sign up.
I turned it off, but you can hear the
Hey, who's
update.
this?
He's getting
Oh,
one.
maybe I'm
Somebody's
not.
getting one.
Attention, press any key or hold for an important message.
This is Skip Donnell, your fire chief and emergency management director, with an update on Northfield's state of emergency
Somebody's
from
getting one.
yesterday's storm. With hard work by Northfield Highway Department, few crews from the fire department, in coordination with Eversource, Asplin Tree Service, and all the other utilities, all roads in Northfield are now open for emergency vehicles. Public access will be limited on Wednesday on Woolwick Road, Gulf Road, and Orange Road while crews continue to do their work.
Bill?
The state of emergency should be lifted sometime on Wednesday when all roads will then be open to the public. Thank you for your patience and assistance. Good night.
I guess school's open tomorrow then,
So you got the email.
because
You
you
did.
were reading it.
Yeah, he got it by email.
Huh.
So you are on there.
I wasn't
Okay.
able to get the phone call though.
But he must have, go in and check and see if somehow your phone number's changed or something's changed with or settings.
Okay, so that's a
So everything's open tomorrow.
That happened.
timely demonstration of the system.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way to put it up to you.
Topics reasonably unanticipated.
Yeah, topic.
I
So
didn't get
B, what
anything.
was your question? Do we
That's
want
why you need to go
what?
in and check. Make sure you're on there, because otherwise we need to figure it out.
Okay,
Do we
so
want to what?
coming back to, does the select board, we dissolve the business park committee at the request of the business park committee.
Yep.
We wanted to take advantage of their learnings, and we had talked about maybe making a committee for business development that would be larger than just a business park, would include a business park. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. but-
So we don't have to talk about it tonight. I just
Yeah.
want to know what the next step you feel is. Do you want me to put it on an agenda and we'll talk about what type of
Can you
committee?
just move it down? Yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
probably want to have Mallory as part of that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
And the reason why I say is because I really like, I see that you have Nataba on here.
Yep,
And my note to myself was,
Yep.
can we get a Nataba update? And Nataba and anything that's happening on Main Street and, involves tourism or anything that's gonna progress our town, I think Nataba should be included in the conversation. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. Actually, you were just making me think, and I don't want to make it too big of a topic, so I'm looking at Bernie.
Didn't Natava not get funding?
Yes.
So they're not actually active right now.
They were mostly funded through the candle company.
Right, they don't have funding right now.
Right, but they have the expertise, so
Yeah.
I
They
think
do
that's what,
indeed.
And I think a lot of the energy
They
that
still have
they're,
their committee.
Right.
I think a lot of the energy right now, this year, is going into the 350th with that group. So you may have to wait a year when they have enough to do
True,
more.
I just never want to lose Natava.
No,
No.
they're just, I think they're putting a lot into the 350th.
They are, you're right. Okay.
For this
so-
year. Something to revisit.
So, personally, I didn't feel like we needed a committee at this time.
Bernie? What are your thoughts on this area of prioritization?
Yeah, no, I just, I think, we need to adapt that business park committee. And
Okay,
that's,
I think we put it on an agenda and
yeah,
then
and
see
then
where
see
it
what
goes.
happens.
Yeah,
Invite the people that were on it and
yep,
take their input,
Yep.
and then we know where to go from there.
yep.
If none of them show up, we know where to go from there.
Right, and we can invite in others, and we can invite Mallory and have a good discussion about what the next step is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alex, does that sound good?
Perfect.
Okay, all right. And then I had other things on here, the pocket parks. I mean, this has been developed over this was developed a year ago. So I also had listed Shell Bridge, Mass Dot study on Main Street, complete streets. It's really tying it all in together so citizens have an overall picture of what should be happening in Northfield. And then, of course, any of these efforts, which things need to become warrant articles. So we're in that process now. Okay, and then the second page, I'm just going to keep moving through here. So if just raise your hand or shout out. So then another select board priority was to make the town, quote unquote, an employer of choice. And we can have Heath weigh in on this when he comes back. This is where the classification comes in, Andrea, the review, update, personnel.
It is a
We
community
called it the
compact.
salary grid.
Yeah.
So that's actually what Andrea was talking about with the classification study that just started.
Happening right now.
So we're actually working toward our priorities. The thing that we need to revisit, oh, great, Heath, perfect timing. We just moved on to the thinking was on the economic development was to put that as an agenda topic. Bernie was saying invite in the business park guys, have a discussion with Mallory and anyone else, like Nataba folks, on what should be the next step with respect to a committee.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so,
like a pass the torch kind of thing from the business
Yep.
people.
yep. We want to make sure, and I think you were particularly concerned about this,
Oh, yes.
as were we all, that we take advantage of whatever they learned and whatever
That's
they
right.
want to communicate to the
So it's
select
not
board.
just,
Yeah, it's
for
like,
nothing.
thank you, and then we never talk about it
yeah,
again.
yeah.
So then the other priority area was make the town employer of choice. The first bullet, we had just talked about earlier with Andrea. We have been calling it the salary grid, and that's the classification study that she was just talking about. That just started in January. So in other words, we are actually working the actions of the select board and of the town administrator are in conjunction with the priorities that we set a year ago, which is great. Pat on the back, check it off, keep working on it. Town clerk, we need to come back to this because this is going to have to be on the ballot. The town
It was voted at
clerk,
town meeting, but it now needs to be on the ballot.
Right.
so that will be coming up on the ballot in May, elected versus appointed, but I think we should probably put that on the agenda and remind people that this is happening
good
and
idea.
why. This was my note. I can actually work on this before we get to it, based on my experience last year, was a policy and procedure for reviewing town administration performance based on what we went through last year.
How you want to structure that?
Yeah, because we couldn't talk to each other beforehand, but we want to submit input, so there
Right.
were a couple
Okay.
of different strategies that I think might be worth just having the select board talk about. Probably in May, after the town meeting.
Yeah, because I'll have to do performance evaluation.
And then we'll have a new select board. We'll have approximately 2 months before your evaluation will be due. Okay, questions so far? I'm just rolling through these. Does that make sense? Okay. Community outreach strategy. We had things like continue inviting departments and other committees to update the select board. We've been doing that. Does anybody have any department or committee or commission? We can talk about this under proposed agenda topics too, but please be thinking if there's somebody that you want to bring forth. I've had senior center on my list for a while, for example, but
I think on the list, at least from my old notes, was sewer.
yeah, and I have that on the proposed agenda topics, so we're good on that.
Yep.
Anything else, guys? I'm going to keep rolling. Communications and town meeting attendance. We should talk more about that, I think. We had asked a select board member that you guys mentioned last
That
year.
was Alex and I.
I'm still interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to bring that forth
It's kind
as
of
an
a
agenda?
summer thing. It feels like we sit out at a table in front of town hall,
That's right.
and it's kind of like, ask your select board member, and people who are walking by on a Saturday can come and say, hey, you know, what's the policy for chickens in the yard type thing? And it's ask a
we
select
know.
board member
Animal
day.
control bylaw.
Huh?
Animal control bylaw, that's
I
right.
still think it would have been a great thing to have on, the off weeks where we don't have a meeting. If we just literally had a 1 hour office hour in here, and just every one of us took one of them, and it would just be like, Alex did it 1 week, and then B did it another week, and we just like literally made our way around. And for some reason, like say it was Mary's turn, she just couldn't make it.
Yeah.
We just let them know. We just put a sign on the door. It's like sort of non-obligatory, not a huge priority, but we at least try to make it so that the members of the community don't have to wait for an event where they see us at, or like pull us aside at
Exactly.
NIMS or something like that, where they're not in front of cameras. Like that's kind of like where
No, it's
I think
just
this
one-on-one.
conversation started off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it would be great. I would be totally willing to do that, because I mean, if nothing else, and no one came here, I could answer emails of in town, because sometimes they get stacked up on me, or I could just find something.
Well, I think then the
hour.
next step would be is to one of us would have to make a calendar. We'd have to go through the calendar for 2023, see when our select boards are, when they're not, and then we would have to issue ourselves into that block. Alex, Mary, Heath, Bernie, B. Alex, Mary, Heath, Bernie, B. And then propose it
So-
to each other before it went out public.
So do you want to
No.
put something together and bring it forth?
I don't.
This is going to be this is my new mantra, is when I hear these ideas, I'm not taking it as a task so much as reminding.
I was thinking that maybe you would, because of the way that you're so good with calendars.
No, I actually am in the town hall every other week, sitting over there in the select board office, meeting with Sandra and
I know.
That's true.
Andrea. So
okay, you're off the.
well, I'm the backup, but
you're backup.
I highly recommend it, because when I've sat in there, I bring my laptop and do my work, go over the agenda, but then I see who's coming in and what they're asking for questions. And oftentimes it ends up being this
Do they come
discussion.
upstairs?
Oh yeah, all the time. Usually to ask Sandra, because Sandra knows everything.
Right.
So, but sometimes that will just be like Bob Henry came up to talk about veterans one day. So it was the four of us all just standing there talking about veterans and veteran needs. So I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Do you want me to put that? Does that mean, dear Select Board, do you want me to put that on the agenda then, and somebody brings it forth as a proposal?
Why don't we do that?
Sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind pulling a calendar.
Who wants to take the?
I will.
Okay. Heath.
I think you could always find too, if we find after a couple, 2 or 3 months,
Nobody's coming.
nobody's coming. It's,
If nothing else,
The
to
ratings aren't good. It's getting canceled.
It's going to be a reality TV show.
The most boring reality TV show ever.
I highly recommend it though, because just do it just to see what kind of business comes through the office, or sit in the town clerk's office, because he gets everything down there
If
too.
we don't try it, we'll never know.
Okay, so there's some other suggestions on there. I'm going to leave that up to you guys, or to the board to. We can talk about this more. We're going to have to put these as agenda topics. That's why I'm having this discussion, is to make sure we actually are following through on everything that we listed as a priority. Building proactive relationship with FinCom and school committee, especially budget calendar. I would say we have started, definitely did that this year. We've had meetings in November, and that's how we have this joint meeting coming up on January 30th. So I'm feeling good about that. I had infrastructure water district, so that's now a reality, and the commissioners are in place, and they had their first public meeting on Friday, but it got canceled because of a snowstorm.
Oh.
And then we also have sewer, and the sewer commission is lined up to come and give us an update. And then I've got some proposed agenda topic from Bernie with regards to special event policy. Traffic and speeding.
We should get those signs. They have the ability to track a license plate and issue citations. Those things are fantastic.
That's great.
In the state of Massachusetts, cameras you can't issue tickets with a camera.
What's coming?
You can in Rhode Island, but you can't in Massachusetts. So.
Okay.
It's coming.
I think we should put together some sort of more details around this priority, because and there was also some change in the state law too about
about being able to change speed limits. But I wanted to meet with the police chief on this because it turns out you guys have a traffic safety policy that's from like 1970 something.
Okay,
So
let's
that
start
should
with
be
that.
updated.
I like that.
All right, let's start with the
like that.
policy.
And then the policy could incorporate everything, including like there were some complaints about being able to write a ticket for people parked in handicap spots, being able to, so it's not just speeding, but maybe by going through that policy,
Okay.
then you could address a whole host of these things.
Okay.
Those old legacy laws are sometimes
Modernizing
interesting to read.
Northfield.
We find these things sometimes
Great.
and we're like, oh.
That's right
Last updated,
right up our
1968.
alley is to make sure that policy is up to date, and then we can incorporate that under public safety as well. It's a twofer. Great. Okay, guys. Next topic: Select Board agenda topics, scheduling. So, proposed agenda topics. I guess I just wanted to make a statement, or. You know me, I have my way of doing things and I'm trying to be organized, etc. So as becoming the chair this past year, one thing that I've learned is there's stuff that Sandra has on her list that comes in, like the 2 appointments that we had tonight. There's stuff that Andrea has on her list based on whatever's coming in. And then there's stuff that I have on my list based on what we've talked about with respect to priorities and what people have suggested. And then every other Wednesday, so the note that I made was, this is my particular running list of topics, so it includes the select board priorities and suggested topics, but it doesn't necessarily include Andrea's or Sandra's lists, which are time-sensitive requests, contracts, license renewals, committee appointments, whatever's coming, bubbling up. And that's why I meet with them every other Wednesday to see how all of our lists come together and to really guess how much discussion time is needed and how to break it down over the agendas. So I don't know if I was making that clear as I give you whatever my running list of proposed agenda topics is. And I know, Bernie, you were concerned about your suggestion and whether or not I was incorporating it soon enough. So I just wanted to put it on the agenda for tonight so that we can actually talk about it. So any questions or comments? Bernie?
No, well, like I said, all I did is I looked at this original book we had
Yep.
that had like,
Which booklet is that?
this is the special events one. This is the first thing we got.
Oh, you're talking about your particular topic.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
okay.
particular topic. That's, for me on the agenda, all I want to do is talk about putting a couple more sections in, if applicable, and that's it. So
Okay.
that's all I want to talk about. And I'll
Okay.
have something written, I'll have a handout that'll show you what I want to have added to the
On your
policy.
particular topic.
On my particular topic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all because you had that down there.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, so you know, time-wise, I don't think it's going to be, huge, but.
Okay. Is it, before we get to that, before we get to the actual agenda topics for February 7th and beyond, is it clear what I'm doing or attempting to do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I like it because it's keeping us, everything fresh. I mean, it's still with us. You know what I mean? It's not just getting shoved under the carpet.
Yeah.
I love that
Okay.
we are reviewing it.
Okay.
So
I'm not
that's
trying to take the whole pile down at the same time either.
Well,
right.
I think the other thing I found in my first year was whenever somebody said, do you have a proposed agenda topic? I would always draw a blank, or I would just have a
Same.
particular thing and it wouldn't be the right time, or I didn't have a clue as to what the cycle of the year was. And so now, based on this being my third year, I have a better sense of things kind of go in a cycle. And I wanted to just look ahead and go, I know the cycle's coming up on budget. I know it's coming up on town meeting and the warrant articles. So just making sure those are constantly in front of us, just in case we forget, but so we can think about them in advance. That's what I like to do.
This is great.
Okay, and then just one other note is that in terms of, I'm really still guessing what the amount of discussion time is going to be on some of these topics, particularly when public input is needed. So that's also why I was chunking certain things, like the preliminary review portion versus the policy part.
Yeah.
So, and that's also why Bernie's topic is coming up as opposed to was on a prior agenda, just from a timing standpoint. So just bear with me on timing, but if people have questions or suggestions and they don't get covered at this meeting, send them to Andrea for the Wednesday in between. Because we meet on Wednesday afternoons, and then the agenda gets posted on Thursday afternoons for our Tuesday meeting. So if you have any other suggestions, let her know and we'll go over it without me being involved in any open meeting law thing.
We bring everything we have to her on Wednesday, so we have Thursday morning to go over it or update it or find out more about it to see if it's even right to go on Thursday night, because we have to post by Thursday.
Right.
So you got to know if it's going to be ready for Tuesday or not.
Right. And then plus I'm also kind of pushing back on people, like if we want to talk about something, is making sure somebody's bringing something to the table to talk about. Like Bernie's a perfect example. Heath is a perfect example on the stipend. Okay, enough said about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Letter of recognition to the members of the Emergency Services Facility Committee. Did you guys have a chance to print that out?
Oh, is it not there?
No.
Oh, wait a minute. Check in your folder.
There's something we have to sign.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta
I didn't
check.
see
We've
that
got
one
stuff to
either.
sign. Yeah, don't go anywhere after the meeting.
We did those, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought I saw it
No.
someplace.
Folder.
He's got
No?
another one.
Who printed it out?
Is it?
It'll come our way now.
It's
Thank you for your
There it is.
service.
He's got it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Oh,
Certificate.
nice. Okay. Guys, I have a letter. We can circulate it.
Okay.
It says, thank you for your service at the top. The Select Board hereby recognizes the accomplishments of the Emergency Services Facility Committee, especially in moving this important project from Phase 1 to Phase 2. As a result, we are quickly and solidly moving forward toward presenting a comprehensive and detailed proposal to the community at town meeting. On behalf of the town, we are especially grateful to these committee members and their contributions to the committee: Kevin Connolly, Alex Parashkoff, and David Quinn Jr. We thank them for their service to the committee and the town and look forward to future contributions with sincere appreciation.
Fabulous.
I'm going to pass that around. We can all,
Great.
and we just need a motion to approve the letter and send it.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of recognition to the members of the Emergency Services Facility Committee.
Motion and a second from Bernie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's circulating now. And now we have a certificate of appreciation for Lois Stearns for her 32 years of service. And that is,
Beautiful certificate.
Oh, I want to see. Wow.
the camera's not really, it's kind of blurring out, but it's a really nice.
The contrast is not
Alex.
And we're going to put this in a frame.
Great. I mean, how many years was she?
32.
She was on Selectboard first and then on finance.
Talk about commitment. Thank you, Lois.
So do we need a motion on this one too, or did we, I'm
No.
trying to think of,
I move that we
thank you.
give Lois her certificate with gratitude, a ton of gratitude.
From the select board.
And I move that we frame it before we give it to her.
I think that's the plan. Okay, motion and a,
Second.
that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, yes.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Oh.
Thank you, guys. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We handled that with the, talked about the emergency.
Yes.
Citizens' concerns. Any? Bill? Hi there. You know the drill.
Bill Kilpatrick, Gulf Road, Northfield.
Nice to see you, Bill. What would you like
Nice
to
to
talk
be
to us
seen.
about?
Real quick,
Yeah.
I just recently came in possession of your response letter to the Soul Festival folks that have so little regard to you that rather than ask your permission, just go right ahead and do it and then say, oh, we're sorry, too late now, we're doing it. Have you heard back from them? It's been 2 weeks.
No, it's not been 2 weeks since we sent that letter, has it?
Stated.
So,
Right, but it took a day or two to go out.
so this is citizen concern, so
That's
it's not on the agenda, so I'm gonna
No, I
let
can
you
answer
handle
them.
it.
It has, I mean, I'm sure they didn't receive it 2 weeks ago. We did mail it to them and email it to them, so it hasn't been 2 weeks since they received it. But you're right, it has been 2 weeks since the board approved it. We have not heard back from them.
You think you'll hear from them before the next select board meeting?
No way of knowing. It's really on them.
Reminds me when you were a kid, rather than ask permission to do something, you did it, and then said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you wouldn't approve. You're dealing with California, is what I'm gonna say.
Excellent.
You're gonna have this festival, because your letter was politically soft. You know, I mean, that's why I'm not on the select board. My letter would have been in magic marker red, no, with 2 exclamation points.
You do have to understand that it wasn't an application.
I understand.
So they don't have the ability to say yes or no to anything at this time. There's no application before them.
No, but they have to respond. You're asking for certain questions, certain information in that letter.
Then they need to respond with that information in their application.
I wish you well, because it's gonna be a nightmare.
Well,
You're
Thank
borrowing
you.
trouble
So-
from around the corner.
thank
How
you,
How
Bill.
long do you think your lines will be at the creamery?
Thank you, Bill.
It's not
So,
gonna
Bill,
happen,
your
That's
comments will be captured in the minutes. And you're also, did you send us a letter when we were asking for input as well? Because we did, all of the public
My
Okay.
only way of connecting with you good people
is
is
through,
either by being here
okay,
or if the recorder picks it up. The first time I became aware of the festival was September 8th when the Montague Reporter
yeah,
Oh.
did
okay.
it with Chip Ainsworth, because he happens to
money.
live in Northfield, right on the borderline of the campus. So he's gonna be a wee bit impacted, as is probably, I don't know how many communities surrounding Northfield.
Right,
So that's it.
yeah. Thank you, Bill. We appreciate it, and
Good luck.
your comments will be, are duly noted. Thank you.
We don't approve.
Thanks, Bill.
Take care.
Nice to
Okay.
see you. Oh, Sarah?
Mine's quick. Sarah Kearns from Highland. I was just, when I was listening to your priorities from last year, I didn't, you kind of skipped over what you said the first one, and then the second was something about the Board of Health. I was just wondering if I could know what those are.
Say that again? Wondering what it was?
Oh,
Oh, it has to do with mosquito
Mosquito
control.
control.
Select Board priorities, the first one is mosquito control.
Mosquito control, and then under that was join the Pioneer District and collaborate with the Board of Health. It's all mosquito control.
Okay. And just as a comment on that, that would intersect with both of you guys were talking about encouraging pollinators. So mosquito control and pesticide use might intersect with that. So I just wanted to bring it up.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the district was a specific thing that was voted on at a prior town meeting too. So yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. Oh, correspondence. So we have a resignation.
One of the folders.
I have 2 red folders. Okay. Yes, so we have a resignation letter effective January 20th from Josh Neal. He's resigning his position as building maintenance and laborer for the town of Northfield. It has been a pleasure to work for Highway Superintendent Tom Walker and the crew that he has put together. I was able to learn and grow both as an employee and as a person during my time working here. I would like to thank Mr. Walker for the opportunity to work with him, and I would also say thank you to the rest of the Highway Department crew. So
nice.
we are...
Very nice.
I know, but it's a resignation letter.
I know, it's horrible.
So
he's a
I'm
good
like
guy.
Gonna start crying.
Start putting the word out.
So we're very sorry to hear this. And are we already on board with another?
We're advertising.
We're advertising, and we're going to need another screening committee.
At some point, yes. We're advertising right
Go
now.
back to that table.
So
Motion to accept the resignation of Josh
Neal.
Second.
Motion and a second. With regret. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
Oh, discussion. Sorry.
Yes. Do we still have and encourage the what are we calling it? Exit interview thing, yes. Do we happen to get one from him or?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Well, let's encourage it.
What?
Employer of choice. Encourage it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Now we're on to committee and board appointments.
Motion to appoint Margaret Livingstone to the Community Preservation Committee, term expiring June 30th, 2023.
That's a short term.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion to appoint Christine Harris to the Council on Aging, term expiring December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
Make a motion to
Reappointments.
reappoint Barbara Richardson and Tim Bowen to the Shell Bridge Advisory, term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you both
Thank you, Barbara and Timmy.
for stepping up again.
Can skip the next 2. We didn't receive them.
Okay.
Oh, darn it. Okay. That's, oh,
That's
well,
it.
it's understandable. He's been busy. Okay, proposed agenda items. We already talked about those. I guess the question, Heath and Andrea, and then we're going to circle back to Bernie's, is Emergency Services Facility Committee update. Sounds like it's looming large based on the committee discussion of last week. So how do we want to handle that? Because things are being discussed with the committee, and then I want to make sure we can use the select board whenever possible to get the public in and thinking about especially this look and feel and any other things that are critical at the moment.
I say like once we hit a significant enough milestone.
Right now, we're looking to release the bidding. I think that's what they're doing, and they're working with various committees. They have to get through the Concom and the ZBA. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
And I think once they make a determination on the sign that they were talking about doing, and then I think some markings that might go along with it on the property where things would go, I think once we hit that point, that would be a good enough time to do some sort of an update, because then that's a valuable chunk of information that the public would really benefit in knowing. They can go to the site, they can see a sign, they can get some dates and a little bit more information. So I can bring that up at the next meeting when I'm there and just say that we'd like to bring up a significant update to the select board, but let's summarize what our activities have been over the last maybe 3 months, and I can say that at the next meeting, because it's like very small little bites every time we have a meeting, so it's never like this groundbreaking thing where I can come in front of everybody and say, here's what we've accomplished. It's really small updates, so.
Well, I got the impression that folks wanted to weigh in on, get a better understanding and weigh in on the look and feel. So I guess I wasn't totally clear from the meeting. Was that something you guys were going to discuss more at the next meeting? Or we needed to do something at the select board meeting as well, like have the architect come in again and do the presentation and make sure it's on the camera like we did during phase 1?
Let me send that out and talk to them.
Okay.
See where
Okay.
we are. See where we are on the with the architect.
Okay.
Because I don't know if they actually have. They talked about like the styles that they want to go with, but I don't think they actually have.
But at some point, they'll have to make a decision before they bid, though.
Right.
So.
Right, and they're making some choices about roof lines apparently too, so it just seems like it's going to be one of those things, if we don't deal with it sooner, then we're going to end up with a lot of feedback when they're least able to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were pretty clear in the last meeting as well about how there were some residents who were bringing up like, well, I like the look of this and I like the look of that. It's
Yep.
like, well, that goes a little too far because they have to stick with a certain design look to it.
So I'll talk to the architect.
Okay, so we're going to come back with suggestions on how to use the select board meeting to enhance or amplify whatever's going on in the facilities committee meeting. Okay, good. So then on February 7th, I had sewer commission update, 350th anniversary committee update, because they're kicking off events. There's a big one in February. We'll have more from ARPA, and then we'll continue to take a look at overall fund allocation on that. And special events policy, you're going to talk about, you're going to bring your sewer and water discussion.
Do you want me to do the one-stop priorities at that meeting?
Sure, yes.
Because they go in that week. So.
Yep, definitely. Anything else for February, just looking at that list? And you might have an update on mosquito control district.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll hear back from him soon,
All right.
before then.
He's good about getting back. Okay, so, and then this list below is just kind of, like I said, this is the running list. We'll see how it goes.
Because I do want to add I do want to do a FERCog presentation of the fire station reuse at one of the select board meetings. They already have a PowerPoint. I think a way to break that into public consciousness is to do it at the select board meeting first.
When are you thinking?
It's done anytime you want it.
Okay, it's done. So, okay.
I mean, you could do it at the 221 meeting.
Okay,
Try
let's
to plan
put
it. That
that.
would give me enough time to reach out and see if they're available.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Anything else on proposed agenda topics? You have the list. We'll meet next Wednesday, so if there's anything else that you want to raise up, let Andrea know. Announcements. Do we have any?
Was there one?
The emergent.
I think there was one in there for the senior center.
Senior center.
No.
They have a few things. Ask the audiologist.
That's what she was doing. She wanted to announce
February. Speaking of hearing.
Yes.
February 22nd, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. with Julie Fisher, who's an audiologist with Bay State Rehabilitation Services at Bay State Franklin. They're going to have a session called Ask the Audiologist. Coffee, presentation, and discussion, followed by screening for anyone interested with her portable audiometer. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay,
So
so
you can come have your hearing checked?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, maybe I need to do that. All right, and
I'm sorry, what?
and the town of Deerfield is having their parade for their 350th anniversary on Saturday, June 17th, 2023, 2 to 4, and we are invited to march.
What about drive a muscle car in it? Can I do that?
You better call them.
You can call them.
You can email them.
We're going to rev it up. Represent Northfield the right way.
Okay. Oh, let's have a vehicle.
You gotta get a magnet
Oh,
somewhere. in the
yeah.
car.
Let's do a vehicle, Alex. That'd be perfect. Okay, you want to do
You
it?
can sit in the back.
I can borrow McGowan's 68 Volvo station wagon and we can put a megaphone on the roof. Northfield Selectboard.
Come to our 350th.
You can trust our car
That's right, you
You
definitely
can
want to have
trust
some
us.
sign about yours.
to the system with a star.
So we're supposed to just
Yeah,
definitely.
we would want to get in touch with them if you guys have an interest in marching. We should at least RSVP that you would like to. We're not sure what it is yet.
Okay.
Are there
What's
enough
the
of you that would
pleasure of
go?
the board?
I'll go.
I'll
Absolutely.
totally go.
I'll go.
Okay. All right. So we'll send an email.
I'll
Sandra.
go to the opening of an envelope, B. Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm going to put that down. All right.
Pleasure seeker.
So we will respond to them that there will be a select board presence from the town of Northfield.
Yes.
You'll have to
To
come up with details.
TBD.
The question is, are you marching or are you going to have a vehicle or got to give them
I'd
some?
like
work
to
out those
ride.
details.
I
Oh,
wanna
what was
ride.
the date?
June.
That's a
Saturday,
creepy day.
June 17th, 2023. Look in your email. Sandra sent an email
That's
out
gonna be-
earlier today
That's a
to remind
big
everybody.
day of work.
Okay. Recognition for service. Shall
I'd
we?
like to, yeah,
Are we thinking the same thing?
I think we are.
Okay, go ahead, Alex.
Amazing response and volunteerism and service from our highway department and emergency services in town. They were there the entire time throughout the storm, helping those that were stranded on the mountain and guiding traffic correctly and being where they needed to be. I know I've heard Skip say that several times over the years. Everybody was where they needed to be, and we all work together when we need to.
Right.
And that's important. That's what they did. And for Tom Walker, I think that guy. I'm only going to assume he was probably up all night throughout that storm behind a truck and doing his thing too. So I'm hoping that the man is getting some good sleep. All of them.
Oh.
Fabulous coordination and dedication to keep our roads clear.
Excellent.
Tough storm.
Tough storm.
Yeah.
We got another one coming.
Yes, please be careful tomorrow.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, coming off the mountain,
Yeah, how is it?
the trees are all bent over and full of snow still.
Just
Yeah.
like my
So
house.
there's going to be a lot more snapping and
Well,
cracking.
and it's warming, and then it's gonna freeze again too.
Yeah.
So
It looks like it's starting tomorrow afternoon
Yeah.
and going through until Thursday morning.
Oh.
So people should really be careful starting
Did you want to
tomorrow
add on
afternoon.
to that, Mary?
I did.
or-
I wanted to add on gratitude to the private sector of snowplowers. Jay Nelson and his wife, and there's other people in our town who were up from 5 a.m. He plowed me out last night. It was dark. It was 9 or something. They went to a lot of the residential homes and plowed people out. So kudos to the private sector of snowplowers. Thank you for your service.
Shout out to Sam Browning Jr. Trucking too for
Sam
keeping the roads
Browning.
clear. Yeah.
Well,
And Jay Nelson, yeah.
we have a fantastic community.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question, and if you could ask Tom. We have some citizens who would like to show their appreciation to the highway department and the other departments. They wanted to bring food. And I wasn't quite sure. I said, I'll ask. I'm not quite sure when's a good time or what, but they want to make sure that anybody who's out working overnight and for long hours, they want to make sure they're fed and they can show their
Definitely.
appreciation. So
Yeah.
if you can ask Tom what makes sense, I can reach out to whoever reached out to me.
Do they have a refrigerator as well? Just in case.
Yeah, like she was like, hot
They
soup?
do.
Do they need hot
Yeah.
soup?
They
Do they
have a
need
kitchen.
coffee? Okay.
They have a kitchen?
Yep.
They have a
Uh-huh.
room
Okay.
down
Okay, I think we're good.
Thanks, B.
Okay.
Great meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
B.
guys.
Great meeting.